to the grid. We are just moments away from the start of the warm-up lap for the Picture Partners Sydney 300. I am Dan McCarthy. Alongside me throughout this one will be Lachlan Mansell, who's commentated all of the Sydney 300s to date. This one, though, Lockie, is set to be an absolute classic.
Indeed it is. We've got some on-board cameras covering some of the action for us tonight, including riding on board with Charlie Viola, who owns our naming rights sponsoring company in Picture Partners. There he is sitting on the grid. Quite a task assembling all of the cars in their grid position. Such is the size of the field this evening. But pole position, taking his second pole position in the Sydney 300 in qualifying earlier today, Todd Herring in the Herring Racing Newline Mazda MX-5. The last time he started on pole, he won. We've got Wilson, Liddell and Sewell starting out of grid position number 2. Anthony Sewell will take the start in that car. Benny Tran, reigning winner, out of position 3. He started third on the grid last year as well and went on to win. And then we've got the entry of Copeman and Vernon out of position 4. They actually broke a suspension upright in qualifying, but we know that car's quick. Miles Jones, another one of our solo drivers, out of position 5. David Vincent and Max Gagan in 6th. Then it's Chem Ucell and Ian Solteri. They were on the outright podium last year. They're the highest placed of the Division B cars tonight. They'll go from 7th, and then it's James Hay and Janky starting out of position number 8 on the grid. The Queenslanders in their Mazda MX-5. Back then to Jimmy Tran and Drew Hall in the BYP Honda Integra out of 9th. Glenn Townsend and Aaron Wemyss in 10th in the Lotus. Then we go back to Elliott and LeBrock, the fast track experiences Commodore. That car's very quick in a straight line. Daniel Kapitanovich and Adam Thompson in position number 12 on the grid. Miles Jones looks like he's going to start from pit lane, so that's a developing story down there. We'll continue through the grid. Chris Sutton back to Vacevic and Papavac. Jamie Miller in 15th and Kiara Zabatakis in position number 16 on the grid in her Mitsubishi Evo 7. Back to Ricketts and Haynes. They're going for a victory at Division B tonight in their Nissan Pulsar. The triple Herring combination in position number 8 with Tim, Aaron and Brad Herring. Back to Joyce and Sheedy. And then Richard Herring and Andy Harris rounding out our top 20. Another one of the Mazda MX-5s, that is car number 51. Back to the G&T needs in their Honda Civic in 13th position. Stephen Head and Zach Bradats out of 22nd. Saguna and Petrovic in the 182 car, customer prepared by BYP Racing in 23rd. Osmond and Colin Breiter, the BMW M135i next. Then it's the Burgess father and son combination, Jerry and Lee Burgess. Gosling and Howard in position number 26. Boydell and Walsh in 27th. The Porsche 944 of Stannard and O'Neill in 28th. Then it's Jet Herring back to the Harris father and son combination. Bill and Will Harris in their Commodore Sports Sedan. Tony Virag and Liam Evans out of 33rd position. Alex and Data Holtzell, the BMW 1M in 32nd. The Frasers out of 33rd. Fishburne and Tanner, the VT Commodore, is next. Julian Burke and Matthias Herberstein in position 35. Jamie Martin and Mike Kelsey, the 179 Mazda MX-5 out of 36th position. The Tierney brothers, regulars in the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship, 37th. Brad and Harry Inwood, the boys for Bathurst in their Subaru WRX STI, 38th. Oldfield and Giovenco, 39th. Charlie Viola, there is our naming rights sponsor, alongside Ben Hanrahan in 40th. Craig Thornton and Matthew Totani in 41st position. Good to see Kevin Stootman, his co-driver Kieran Pridmore, the AU Falcon Saloon car, in position 42. Matt Hewlett and Ash Dial, position number 43, the fifth gear motoring Toyota 86. Carl Kleiman and Steve Moore, the VW Golf GTI, out of position 44. Back to Hobie and Baskus, one of the Pulsars. Oscar Butt, Troy Derwent, Marcus Rumler. Then we go back to Chanowski and Leslite, the VW Golf GTI, out of position 48. Dennis Panner, 49th. Parry Anastakis, the most caps driver in these 300k Enduros, and his co-driver John Taylor in 50th. Then the Agar boys, they got pole in Division E earlier today. The Hyundai Veloster out of 51st position. Kendrick and Craig in 52nd spot. And we've actually got more cars on the grid than that. Our graphics tonight taking us down to position number 52. The Vigliati in the Lexus Molesworth. Back to Boyle. A few more cars there that we'll run through shortly, but one of the big stories is that one car that did not set a lap time in qualifying, the Honda Civic of Charlie Curry and Josh Buchan.
Absolutely, and we are here at Sydney Motorsport Park for the Picture Partners Sydney 300. We are west of Sydney, SMSP, there it is. An iconic circuit, 11 corners in length. Turn number 1 is pretty fast, but there's plenty of action zones around this circuit. As you see, the fast blast into the fast sweeping turn number 1. Got to be hard on the anchors for turn number 2. We saw the Burgess father and son duo making contact with an RX-8 in last year's race. Fortunately, both were able to continue. There was also an incident with a couple of BMWs, including one of the race contending number 82 machine. And then as well, Viola was right in the thick of the action around here. Turn number 8, expect moves here in lap traffic. It will play a huge factor in this motor race. Division A and has to serve 2 5-minute pit stops. We'll talk about all of that a little bit later on, but the length of the circuit, 3.93 kilometres, and World Time Attack is where Barton Moore set the lap record here a number of years ago. And here are all the cars. Can't quite believe it. Capacity field of 60 out there on the racetrack. There's already been some big news stories. The number 31, the Josh Buchan machine, starting from the very tail of the field. We just saw the 777 starting from pit lane. So 2 real contenders already starting on the back foot. But what we've seen in years gone by is that you might start on the back foot, but you're not out of it until the very end.
So Miles Jones has actually rejoined the circuit, but because he was late getting to pit exit, he will now have to start at the rear of the grid. I heard you speculating before about who might start that Honda Civic, Charlie Curry and Josh Buchan. I can tell you that it will be Josh Buchan starting the race. I asked if they thought about starting from pit lane, and Josh's answer to that question was no, because I need the warm-up lap to be able to generate tyre temperature. So he's pretty keen to get on with it early on. Watch for a big charge forward from that 31 car in the early stages. But here we are, the field assembled in side-by-side formation. This is one of the most magical moments you'll experience in grassroots racing, Dan. The start of the Sydney 300 under lights.
Absolutely. Here they come then around the final corner. What's going to happen over the next 2.5 hours? We don't know. We've got 300 kilometres, 77 laps. The Picture Partners Sydney 300 is about to commence. We can see the flag is about to be waved. There it is. Green flag, and we are underway. Roaring down towards turn number 1. A great start from Benny Tran. From third place, he split them down the middle, and he's taken second place from Saul already down in towards turn number 1. But look at this. 2, 3, even 4 wide further down the pack. And look for those cars to march from back in the field. Oh, there's a spinner. That's the 1, 2, 3 machine. I think the MX-5 facing the wrong direction, and it is. Oh, that's a terrible start for the head machine, head at the wheel of that car. A real fast runner, qualified quite comfortably inside the top 20, but already at turn number 1, just 200 metres into the race, Lockie, it's got off to a poor start.
It's not the setback that you need in an endurance race like this one. Stephen Head sharing that car with Zach Radatz, and as you explained, qualified quite a long way up through the field. Gee, it's so busy, isn't it, on this opening lap? To be honest, it really is just about survival. The last thing you want is contact with another car in the early stages of this race that's going to compromise the rest of your evening. We're riding on board with Charlie Viola, and you can see just how hectic it is in the mid-pack. The theme when I spoke to people up and down pit lane just before the start of this race is that, yes, it's the largest ever field, but it's the vibe is that it's also the most competitive. The number of fast cars, the number of cars that are going to be contending for outright victory tonight is by far and away the most competitive and the most cutthroat that it's ever been. But a very good start from pole position by Todd Herring, and he has got the foot down. He's already opened up a margin of a second over the very fast starting Max Gagan. He has moved up multiple positions. He's come from 6th on the grid up to 2nd place on this opening lap.
He's just been overtaken, though, by Vernon. No, he was second, and Vernon has just got through as they crossed the start-finish line. So he's another hard charger. Vernon started in position number 4 and is already up to position number 2. As we can see, a change for position. The number 3 Holden up the inside of the Honda Civic, but look at this from Josh Buchan. How many positions has he gained on lap number 1 of the race? We're both looking at the timing screens, but he's just about to get another one up the inside. There we are, 34th, make that 33rd from 60th to 33rd, 27 positions in 1 lap and 1 corner, Lockie. That's incredible. Here we go. We're going to get another one on the exit of turn number 3 up the inside. It's like a video game.
I mean, the first half or the first 2/3 of the field will be fairly easy for Josh Buchan to pass just because of the superiority of the performance in that Honda Civic. It'll be when he gets a bit closer to the front of the field that it'll start getting a bit harder, but you're right, he's carving through the field like he's playing PlayStation on the super easy mode at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know what the AI is set to, but I think we need to turn them up, that's for sure. He's now on the back of the VRAG Commodore. Not sure if it is VRAG that has started in the number 42 machine, but nevertheless, it's made light work of it. It doesn't matter who's behind the wheel. Overtakes that like it's standing still. Up ahead of him is one of his TCR Australia rivals. Breezes past that car, now up the outside of the BMW as well. Well, this is an incredible start by Josh Buchan. But yeah, that Commodore that we can see with the pink front end, that's shared by Will Harris, TCR Australia competitor and front runner. As you say, he won a couple of races in the last round. He's sharing that car with his father this weekend. And it's actually his father that owns that vehicle. But we see up the inside, that's the number 6 of Osmond, holding off Miller. And these two both in the B class and will be contenders in Class B all day long. And so will the car behind the Lancer in Class C, the Burgess father and son duo. But just behind that is the number 73 as well. There is changes up and down the field early. It's all about trying to stay out of trouble at this stage.
And for those of you tuning in on our Blendline TV coverage, you can identify who's in which division by looking at the totem pole on the left-hand side of the screen. The cars with the race numbers on the green background, they are our Division A runners. The light blue background equates to Division B, dark blue as the cars in Division C, red for Division D, and orange for Division E. So if you're following along at home, your favourite driver, that's how you can tell who is in which of our divisions. Jimmy Vernon has got through to the race lead. That car's been very quick tonight, and it's proving it once again in race conditions. The strategy for that team is that Jimmy Vernon was expecting that he would probably start and finish the race, so they do have to do 2 compulsory pit stops, and so they'll change drivers at both of those stops was their plan for that team.
It does say that the number 31 machine has a Curry behind the wheel, but on the left-hand side, but it is Josh Buchan behind the wheel of that machine.
Josh Buchan, yes.
There's a few little glitches in that soft in front of us. LeBrock's just jumped up 48 positions in the 101 machine, so I think must have had an off-track excursion at one of the timing points. But yes, definitely Josh Buchan. We can see by the helmet behind the wheel of the car, and he is now comfortably inside the top 20. And he's making light work of the number 73 and then up the inside of Burgess. That's Lee Burgess who's starting the car. Generally, it's Lee that starts and his father Jerry that brings the car home at the end of the race. But 3.9 kilometres, Lockie, 60 cars out on the track. There's not a lot of real estate for each one of them.
No, so the other thing here for Josh Buchan is he wants to get as close as he can to the other Division A cars because he has to do 2 5-minute pit stops just like they do. So it's all about making sure that he gets through the traffic as efficiently as possible so he doesn't lose too much time to his Division A rivals. And he's having to get a bit adventurous here. Lee Burgess didn't make an easy fight out of that one. Finally, Buchan gets the job done up at turn 6 and now closes onto the back of Michael Osmond's driven BMW 1 Series. Jimmy Vernon, your race leader by 2 seconds from Todd Herring, Anthony Sewell, Max Gagan, Benny Tran in 5th position, Glenn Townsend best to Division B runners at this stage in the Lotus sitting 6th ahead of Chebucel. And then it's Josh Haynes up to 8th in that Nissan Pulsar. That's been a flying start from him. Nathan Brock still in the top 10 in that Commodore as well. And Chris Sutton in the Mitsubishi Evo currently occupying the last position inside that top 10.
Absolutely, as you say, Haynes absolutely charging there. And the 141 machine, the Nissan Pulsar, we should say there's a few Nissan Pulsars in this. That is not a standard Nissan Pulsar that it races in Nissan Pulsar competition. That is very much an improved production car, and in fact competes in 2-litre sports sedans in New South Wales.
Chris Sutton having a battle here with Drew Hall, who we've seen racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup for Wall Racing as well. And Sutton under a bit of pressure. These are two cars that are completely different in terms of their mechanical specs. The turbocharged all-wheel drive Mitsubishi Evo on treaded tyres compared to the front-wheel drive naturally aspirated hot rod, which is on slicks. And that's a big problem for their Pinnacle Automotive car of Daniel Kapitanovich and Adam Thompson. A massive failure in the front left-hand side of that car. And I wonder if he's had contact with someone or if that's just given way of its own accord. Either way, for one of the veterans of these 300k enduros, that is far from the ideal start.
Yes, certainly is. Look at the smoke bellowing off that. That front left wheel is not moving, and that is why there is so much smoke coming out of it. It is not rotating around at all. It's just dragging along the road, and that is certainly going to be a second-hand tyre when it returns back to the lane. But of course, the compulsory pit stop window has not opened yet. It does not open until lap number 10 of this race. So this means they can bring it in. They can make the potentially fix the car, but it's not going to count as their compulsory pit stop, which is going to be so cruel at this stage of the race. 51 now going slow in front of us on the timing screen. That's not good for the Mazda MX-5, so there's a couple of little mechanical issues here early on in this motor race, but the 51 of Herring going slowly there, but just as I say that now, it is coming into the lane. It is coming into the lane. So many Herrings in MX-5s. It's almost the MX-5 Herring Cup.
Fastest lap of the race for Josh Bucket, a 1 minute 38.4 for him, so he's got serious pace in that car at the moment. Remember, the fastest you are allowed to go is a minute 38 dead. If you go faster than that on more than 2 occasions, you will be excluded from the race meeting. And that's a regulation in place to stop people turning up with cars that are too fast or not in the spirit of this event. And
just ripping the front corner apart. There's sparks inside the wheel. The whole bodywork's coming off the left-hand side. This is not going to be a quick fix, let's put it that way. This is a substantial suspension failure.
I'll tell you what, Daniel Kapitanovich and Adam Thompson, they won the Wakefield 300 in 2022, but since then they have had zero luck because they didn't finish the Winton 300 in 22 and they didn't finish the Sydney 300 last year either. And yes, some obvious problems for that car. We're hearing as well from down in pit lane that the 179 machine is in the garage with a suspected diff or drive shaft issue. They were our Division D pulseers, Jamie Martin and Mike Kelsey. So, like you said, some early mechanical problems, Dan. I think one of the things is because of the added competitiveness of the field this year, people are perhaps pushing their machinery a little bit harder. And already, we're only 6 laps into this race, and it's already taking its toll on the machinery.
Certainly is. The 143 machine, the Subaru, up the inside of Berg in the 323 BMW. So this is some fighting. A bit further down the 944, side-to-side contact there with the number 23. There, just behind, is the Winton 300 winner from last year, the 791 MX-5. And then we've got a saloon car, the Kevin Stoopman, Karen Pridmore saloon car. And Karen Pridmore himself has not ever raced here at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend, but that car performing nicely early on in this race, just staying out of trouble. And both of those two very handy steerers and real front runners in the Victorian Saloon Car Championship. So expect them, if they stay out of trouble, to be towards the pointy end of their class.
So we're on lap number 7 and our race leaders are already encountering laps traffic, which just shows how much of a factor traffic is going to be tonight. In fact, they've already lapped everybody up to 40th position.
I think that was the first commentator's curse of the race as I complimented that car. Here then is the machine we saw with the major damage coming into the lane, and that looks pretty bad. I think that can be repaired, but it's not going to be quick, and they're already 2.5 laps down. By the time that's done, I think they'll probably be well over 10 laps down. But the thing with this Sydney 300, unlike the likes of Formula 1 and supercars, it's always worth getting back out there because it's a proper grassroots race.
Yeah, you just never know. One of the things about this race is you never give up. They drove it straight into the garage, which is the smart thing to do, because in the garage you can have as many people as you like working on the car, whereas in the working lane of pit lane there is a very strict rule about the number of people who can be over the control line between delineate the pit lane from the pit garage to work on the car. And in fact we have seen penalties given out for people having more than the permitted number of crew members over pit lane, which is 5 plus the car controller.
Just getting
driver assisted as well.
Just getting message from Dave in the lane. He says the 51 MX-5 that we saw slowly coming back to the pits, a wheel bearing, CV or a diff, something in the back end has failed there. So that's a significant fix, any one of those. So that machine will be in the lane for quite some time as well. So that's the Richard Herring car out there. It's already in the lane, but what a frantic start to this race it has been. Jimmy Vernon, fastest lap of the race last time through, a 1 minute 38.3. There's a big lockup from a Mazda, I think that was at the very bottom of the shot. But it's so frantic early on in this stage. We'll have a quick reset, a quick run through the results then. It's Jimmy Vernon ahead of Todd Herring, a 2-time race winner. Oh, this is lots of smoke. This is the Josh Buchan car. This is the number 31 machine. There is smoke pluming from the front of the car. What has happened? He'd made his way to 7th position, but the reigning TCR Australia champion, I think he's putting the fire extinguisher, setting that off to try and put the fire out, and the safety car has been deployed on our timing screens, and we can see that on the Blendline TV screens as well. What a shame. This car was running so well. It had already got itself right back into contention, but it has gone up in a cloud of smoke so early on in this race. So early, in fact, the pit stop window is yet to open and will not open for another 2 laps. It's come out on the exact same lap as it did last year, lap number, the year before, 2022. So course car straight on the scene there, and will be quickly extinguish that fire, but safety car has been deployed. Dave, I understand you're down there in the lane, mate.
I am, Dan and Lachlan. I'm down here in a fairly dejected looking garage for the number 861, Kapitanovic and Thompson, E36. Thompson just saying no contact with another car, just ran a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3 and felt like the left-hand front of the corner of the car let go. Sounds like he's had a run-in with one of the nasty bumps on the exit of the circuit, damaged a left-hand front lower control arm outer ball joint. It is one of the ball joints that cops a massive pounding on these McPherson strut suspensions on these BMWs. So they've lost a left front wheel and tyre. Looks like they're going to need to change a control arm. Car will be in the garage for a short period of time, but doesn't look like there's much, if any, other damage to the car. A little bit of cosmetic damage to the left-hand front guard. So hopefully the team down here from Pinnacle Automotive can put the car back on track ASAP.
Fingers crossed that is the case, but there is a dejected looking Josh Buchan. He's been so fast here, Lockie, the last couple of years, hasn't he? But really hasn't gone his way to this point.
So the interesting thing here for me is how long is this safety car going to be out? Because the pit window for the compulsory pit stops will open next time around. Now, it's still very early in the race, and for the cars in divisions C, D and E that only have to do the single compulsory pit stop, a lot of those cars may not have the fuel range to get through to the end from here, given that we've still got 67 laps remaining. But for the cars in divisions A and B that have to do 2 compulsory pit stops, some of them may elect to get their stop underway if the safety car is still out in all laps time.
You were just talking there about the different divisions, Lockie. We've got a bit of a package explaining all of that. The Pitcher Partners Sydney 300 is a grassroots racing enduro open to a large variety of vehicles. Throughout the race, we will often refer to class divisions. But what does it all mean, and how will it affect the race? Well, there are 5 divisions within the Sydney 300, from Division A all the way down to Division E. Each division has a mandated fastest lap time. 1 minute 38 for Division A, 1 minute 42 in B, 1 minute 46 in C, 1 minute 50 in D, and 1 minute 54 in Division E. If you break out of your division on more than 2 occasions at any stage during the weekend, you'll automatically be moved into the division above. If a Class A car does the same thing, setting a time faster than 1 minute 38 more than 2 times during the weekend, they will be excluded from the entire race meeting. Mandatory time pit stops have to be completed during the 300-kilometre race, with the high divisions forced to stay in the pits for longer periods. Division A must complete 2 5-minute pit stops. Division B must complete a 5-minute pit stop and a 2.5-minute pit stop, while all the other categories only need to serve a single 5-minute compulsory stop. The compulsory pit stop window opens when the leader crosses the line to commence lap number 10 and closes when the leader starts lap 70. Notably, the compulsory pit stops can be completed under safety car periods, and a 5-lap penalty will be handed to any car that does not complete the mandatory stop or stops correctly within this window. Strategy will play a factor in this race and means that a Division B or even C class car can take victory outright in the Sydney 300. So yes, that a bit of an explainer video, so that hopefully all makes sense to you. This car still smoking as it gets towed back into the lane. We can see the compulsory pit stop window has opened and will be open for a number of laps. This is a replay of what happened to Josh Buchan. Look at that, just goes up in a cloud of smoke. He immediately pulls it off the racetrack. That is a big engine explosion.
Indeed it is, and unfortunately that'll be day done, and that's a shame because he was providing us with some great entertainment. He'd actually worked his way up to 7th position from the back of the grid in a little over 8 laps, so that car now getting towed back to the pits by our ever hard-working recovery crew. The compulsory pit stop window is now open, incidentally. There's a few cars that are having to be waved past the safety car because of the position that it came out on the racetrack. It didn't actually pick up the race leader, so all of that is just being sorted out by our officials at the moment. But given how swiftly they've recovered Josh Buchan's car, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually get a resumption of play fairly soon. It'd be interesting to see if people choose to pit under this safety car.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah, the onboard footage brought to us by Crisis Transport and Logistics. But that's a real shame that his race came to such an early end, because as I say, he really had brought himself right into contention. So this benefits the A-class guys, the B-class guys, and potentially the A and the B class guys. They can pit early, get one of their compulsory pit stops out of the way early. For the C, the Ds and the Es, if they pit now, it's very, very unlikely they'll be able to make it to the end of the race on 1 tank of fuel. So it certainly doesn't benefit the C, D and E class cars, simply because their fuel tanks are not long enough to bring them home. They will not be at the critical lap number, and the first of the cars are pitting at the back of the shot. That's the Osman car, number 6 first, and you're just pointing because the 144 machine has been towed into the lane, but number 6 has come into the lane. That's the Michael Osmond and Tim Colombrita machine, and also the number 3 of Ian Joyce and Ben Sheedy.
But yes, the Parry Anastakis and John Taylor car requiring a tow into pit lane, and that bonnet's up on that car, so clearly all is not well with that Nissan Pulsar at the moment. So just to confirm, the cars in Division A have to do a pair of 5-minute compulsory pit stops. The cars in Divisions Division B have to do a 5-minute and a 2.5-minute compulsory pit stop. The cars in the other divisions just have to make the single 5-minute compulsory pit stop. There are no maximum or minimum driving times. Obviously, that's because you're allowed to run with a solo driver, so the teams that are running 2 or 3 drivers don't have to fulfill any minimum or maximum requirements. Interesting that not more people have taken this safety car, to be honest. I expect that we might get a few more. However, one who is going to dive in right now, in car number 818, one of our Division B cars, Drew Hall. He's sharing that car with Jimmy Tran, one of the BYP Honda Integras. That car is naturally aspirated, but still capable of running very strongly from an outright perspective because it won the Winton 300 outright in 2022 in the hands of Jimmy Tran and, Benny Tran, I should say, and Ben O'Connell.
I'm as surprised as you. I thought that we'd have a lot more stoppers under this safety car period. That's, of course, how Benny Tran won the race really last year, pitted under safety car conditions while many others elected not to. And we see Herring also coming into the lane in the 78 machine. And there are some more coming in, that's for sure. But yeah, great to see a couple of pit stoppers, but I really did expect an awful lot more. The top 5 in the field are A-class cars, so we expect that, and they do have to serve 2.5 minutes more than the light blue machines, who themselves have to pit 2.5 minutes more than the remaining categories. So those are the colours on the left-hand side of the screen. Some people electing to keep the tyres warm. We can see that from Gagan in the 555 machine. Others just deciding to tootle around, potentially save the tyres. And the 144 is being pushed back into the pits, which is not what you want to see at this stage of the motor race. So we're on lap number 12. We have lost a couple of competitors. We are down to 55, and Dave, you're down there in the lane with an update.
So it looks like a couple of the teams are taking divergent strategic options, particularly those in Division A and Division B when they've got different levels of stop to take care of. We're down here where car number 6 has just done a 2.5 minute stop, being part of Division B. Unfortunately, if we pan down and have a look at the ground, unfortunately that team spilled a little bit of fuel on the ground during the course of that pit stop. So we'll have to keep an eye out on the penalty table to see if there's anything incurred from the officials. If we pan it back around and head back up the lane, the 818 from BYP Racing, they're going to take care of their 5-minute stop at this point. Now, that's a bit interesting because if they go back to green flag racing, they're still going to be in the lane under green flag conditions. So still, you want to take the 5-minute penalty as early as you can. But I'm surprised as you are that no one decided to pit at the start of lap 10 as they're permitted to under the CPS rules.
It's going to make for an interesting end to the race, that's for sure. Another pit stop we can see at the top of the screen. And here we have heard under safety car, this car has come to a stop at turn number 5. No forward momentum. This car has been in the thick of the action already so far today, Lachlan. Stopped on a pit lane exit at the start of Q1, caused a red flag. They managed to get the car towed back to the lane. It got fixed. It made it into Q2. It then made it into Q3 inside the top 12. It was all looking bright and sunny, like it was a real recovery for them. But unfortunately, just 13 laps into the race, the car has stopped once again.
Indeed it has. The Queenslanders of Hay and Janky, and a couple more cars coming in. So Todd Herring is in, the first of our Division A cars to pit. Also Bob Papovac in the Honda Civic that he is sharing with Tom Vacecevich coming in. The Giantini Honda is in. Miles Jones is in, and so too Tony Virag. So a few people have seen that this safety car has obviously been extended as a result of that Mazda MX-5 stopping on the circuit, and they've decided to take a pit stop. Now, Dave pointed to a car that had spilled fuel during its pit stop, and it's a penalty. Remember, if you spill fuel during the refueling process, 5 laps. If fuel is spilled during any other stage of the pit stop process, it's 2-lap penalty. So, unfortunately, one of those cars that spilled fuel, we might need to just get some clarification on which one, but there will be a penalty forthcoming for that car. Big thank you as well to the sponsor of our safety car for tonight, Cherry. On the Northern Beaches, they have supplied the Cherry Motor 5 safety car, and it has made its first appearance of tonight. Every Sydney 300 since 2019, we've seen the safety car out at least twice. The record for the most safety car interventions was 7 in the wet race of 2022.
What a race that was, though. 2022 was an absolute cracker, as many of the Sydney 300s have been. It's quite remarkable that 2 of the first 4 Sydney 300s have been decided by less than a second. And we can hear Dave down there having a chat to one of the Herrings. Sounds like that car might be set to go once again, which would be good news. I think this is just a regular compulsory pit stop, as we briefly cut to the Viola on board, but that Mazda is being towed off the racetrack, and I don't think we will see that machine again. It has been towed to the middle of the circuit. Safety car lights are out. This is really important because the 777 of Herring is still in the lane. This is crucial. It's only been in the lane for 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. That means it's going to be in there for 2 minutes of green flag running. Well, this is already a pretty important moment in this motor race. Importantly, though, the number 818 has already left the lane, so it served its entirety, the first 5-minute stop, under safety car conditions, which really will bring that car into contention late in the race, while all of the other real A-class runners are yet to pit.
And the other good thing for that car is that they got back out of the pit lane in 5 minutes and 4 seconds, so they went pretty close to that 5-minute limit without going underneath it. So a nice, efficient stop for the crew in car number 818, the Cherry Motor 5 safety car back in pit lane. Jimmy Vernon back underway. Now, one of the challenges at these race starts is that there's no overlapping or overtaking before the start-finish line, and that can be a bit of a challenge when you've got slow cars mixed up with fast cars. The temptation is to pull out and overtake before you get to the control line, but if you do that, you'll be penalised. So you have to exercise some self-discipline and some patience. Looks like most of the drivers and teams have been able to do that, but it's Jimmy Vernon who continues to lead by 3 seconds over Anthony Sewell and Benny Tran. Jimmy Vernon also your leader of Len Drive Finance Division A. Leader of Division B, presented by MJS Electrical Products and Supplies, is Glenn Townsend. He is in position 5 outright. Lee Burgess leads the way in Live and Learn Group Division C, sitting in 10th position outright at the moment. Leader of Division D, it's the boys from Bathurst, Grant and Harry Inwood, leading the way in Division D, presented by Crisis Transport and Logistics, and the leader of Encon Enterprise Connects Division E at the moment, currently sitting outside the top 30. Outright, we go back to, in fact, position 37, where we find Hendrick in the number 32 machine.
Absolutely. Lee Burgess continues to march up the field right behind the similarly classed Sutton in the Evo just ahead. So 2 models of Evo trying to make their way through the field. This is the 321 machine. Right behind him, though, the 33 of Lee and Jerry Burgess as the Stoopman car. The number 12 machine runs wide over the concrete verge on the outside of turn number 10. But cars continue to come across the line. Fastest final sector of the entire motor race from Sewell. Clearly cleared the traffic and then put the pedal to the metal. But by that stage, Jimmy Vernon has pulled out a 4-second lead. So Vernon, Sewell and Tran are clear of the traffic, and they are each separated by 4 seconds. Next will be Gagan to try and clear the traffic in the 555 machine. But I've been very impressed by Gagan so far today.
He's been fast in that car. That BMW is very quick. It's an M3 running the 3.2 litre inline 6-cylinder engine, but seriously fast. Incidentally, Todd Herrick back out onto the circuit. He's completed his compulsory pit stop. He is down in 52nd position.
And importantly, well over a lap down as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. So he is at 1.9 laps down. That might be crucial, though, that he is just within the 2 laps. That could play a factor later on in the race. That's the thing with this race. It always sounds like they're out of contention at this stage if they pit out of sequence with others. That car is very much not out of sequence, and if anything, has a slight upper hand because it served so much of its time under safety car.
Here's a good battle between a couple of Toyota 86s. Craig Thornton going at it with the Tierney machine. The Thornton car is a Toyota 86 series spec car. The Tierney one slightly different in its mechanical specification, being production spec. They're also battling it out with the Carl Kleiman and Stephen Muller VW. Battles everywhere you look there is the number 88 Mazda MX-5 as well, and also the recovering Stephen Head and Zach Radat's NC Mazda MX-5, which we saw off the road at turn number 1 at the very start of the race, trying to work its way back up through the field. And Josh Haynes, that improved production Nissan Pulsar, up to 7th position outright. It's been a flying start for Josh Haynes as he looks to round up a couple of those slower cars on the outside through turn number 1.
You mentioned the 322 machine, that 86, a strut bearing and a strut issue yesterday in practice, and they missed pretty much all 4 hours of practice yesterday. They're really hoping to get some laps in, but it's not deterred the car and the drivers either, as it has a look at the Matthew Titani machine just ahead, but can't make it stick there. Look at the brakes glow on the Salteri Volkswagen Golf. Can't believe it, but that car finished 2nd outright here last year. But at the same time, should I be surprised? Because it finished 4th outright in the Bathurst 6 Hour this year. That is a car that is so deceivingly fast in not only a straight line, but in the corners as well. And it punches above its weight.
It punches above its weight, and it has consistency of performance as well. It's a car that looks after its tyres, looks after its mechanical components, and can be fast right the way through the race. That's one of the things you'll see tonight. We talk a lot about cars that have got strengths and weaknesses in different parts of the racetrack, but there's also cars that have got strengths and weaknesses at different stages of the race. There'll be some cars that will just look after their tyres and their brakes a bit more economically, and they'll be able to maintain a very even pace right the way through. Well, there'll be other cars that are a bit harder on their mechanical components, as we've got a couple of cars, in fact, our 2 race leaders coming in under green flag conditions. Jimmy Vernon and Anthony Sewell both diving for the pit lane, and that puts Benny Tran, our reigning Sydney 300 winner, into the lead.
This confuses me even more because they've only done a couple of laps after we've gone green, and now they've come into the pits. I'm very confused by this strategy early on in the race by Vernon and by Sewell, but they've both come in on the same lap. So Lockie, they must know something we don't as we go 3 wide down in towards turn number 1. Brilliant heads-up driving from the Sutton machine, Ray White sponsored Lancer, and now we'll go the outside down towards turn number 2. So many crisis transport and logistics on-board cameras here as part of the Picture Partners Sydney 300 coverage here on Blendline TV. Oh, there's a slow Mazda to the left-hand side there. It was a black machine. Couldn't see which one. We went past it at such a rate of knots. Viola was robbed of a class victory on the last lap of the race here last year. He was looking so good, and a suspension failure, I believe it was, on the final lap. Saw the car darting left and right. Frankly, it was a miracle. He made it to the line, but he did lose out to the Will and Brad Harris combination that stole Class C right at the end. They're looking for redemption, or Viola is looking for redemption, and this year he is alongside Hanrahan, who he shared the car with several years ago.
Ben Hanrahan, yes, so those two have had history driving together, and like you, I'm confused by that strategy as well. Why would you have not pitted under the safety car and had the advantage of getting your compulsory pit stop done while everybody else is trundling around at a controlled speed behind the Chariot Motors safety car? The only thing I can think of is that those two teams had some sort of fuel number that they were working towards, and that's why they've decided to pit. But yes, an interesting call. Actually, Anthony Sewell's come back out. They wasn't in pit lane for long at all. Now I'm even more confused. Maybe there was some issue with the car that they had to resolve. That's a weird one.
Dave, you're down there in the lane.
Thanks, guys. So I've just checked in with the crew chief from DNA Autosport. The number 82 M4 was in. I figured, like you guys, it was trying to burn one of its 5-minute compulsory pit stops early. Unfortunately, they didn't take that chance during the safety car period. The car came in unexpectedly. The driver was experiencing an engine light issue, which they've now resolved and sent the car. Unfortunately, so that car will still have to complete 2 5-minute compulsory pit stops, being part of the Division A group. We're down also here with the car 86, who was also one of the race leaders. We've got Jimmy Vernon behind the wheel. You can tell that because he's got the beautiful purple helmet on. They are taking the chance to give this car the full 5-minute pit stop, so still a little bit longer to go on this. They've done the fuel, no other alterations to the car, just making sure that they don't incur the wrath of officialdom with going under that 5-minute compulsory pit stop time.
Thanks, Dave. So now, I mean, with that BMW, they were in the pit lane for 1 minute and 54, so almost 2 minutes.
I know what you were going to say.
If you've got a problem with the car and the pit window's open, why wouldn't you just serve out your compulsory pit stop?
Smoking.
Get it out of the way.
I agree with you.
That's a more serious issue, isn't it? If there's that sort of smoke coming with it. Is it coming back in? It looks like it's on its way back in. Okay, so it's something more sinister with that car.
This is one of our contenders we thought for victory here this evening. We really did think the 82 car was a real contender, but mechanical issues plaguing this one early. I agree with what you said. If you come in for 2 minutes, you might as well come in for 5, but I think they just wanted to send it out, see if the problem had been rectified. The answer, a substantial and obvious no. That car smoking at the rear of the machine. They're pointing, they can see a problem with that. I'm pretty sure that'll be engine off, driver out, and push that back into the garage, although I could be wrong, but that is a real shame for one of our contenders. Thanks very much, Dave, for the update there. Very much on the scene, as always, is Dave Stillwell, our man in the lane. I'm Dan McCarthy. Alongside me is Lockie Mansell, and Lockie, we've got another one with hazards going. This is the number 8 Golf of Carl Kleiman and Steve Muller in Class C.
The mechanical attrition early in this race has been extraordinary. I can't remember a 300 where we've had this many cars with this many problems this early in the race, and Anthony Sewell's miserable run of luck in these 300s continues. He's been trying since 2008, so literally for 16 years to try and win one of those things, and hasn't been able to get it done. And this is going to be another luckless night for him. He came close a couple of years ago. Him and Adam Burgess were in the box seat on strategy in 2022, but then they got penalised for a safety car infringement, which put them out of contention.
This is awkward.
This has been a really hot contest, as we see Tierney getting down the inside of the Steuben AU Falcon saloon car. And a bit further back there as well, Drew Hall, who has already completed his 5-minute compulsory pit stop, working his way up through the field as well. It's always a high-risk stage of the race when you get cars mixed up with speed differences between them. You've got faster cars that have done pit stops that are a bit out of sequence in terms of their track position, trying to make up spots. You know, this is where awareness and racecraft is so important, making sure if you're in a fast car that you safely pass the slower cars, and if you are in one of the slower cars, making sure that you keep an eye on your mirrors so that you don't unnecessarily impede the faster cars as they make their way through.
I thought the Osmond car was going to make it 3 wide, but the speed of that BMW hatchback in the lane made it easy on the Astra and the 86. Dave, another update from you.
Well, I do, guys. I've just had Anthony Sewell get out of the number 82 BMW M4. We've had a bit of a hug. He's told me he suspects it might be a turbocharger that's let go. There was an awful lot of oil smoke coming out of the rear of that car, and you can see there's physically a lot of oil around the exhaust tips, so not the best night here for the DNA Autosport crew. They lost the Charlie Curry and Buchan car earlier in the night on lap 1, basically, and now it looks like the 82 M4 might be out as well. We've got another car coming in, we'll get out of the way.
What a shocker for the DNA Autosport car. Both their cars' nights done before lap number 20.
Is that not the 86 machine coming in again? Jimmy Vernon.
Jimmy Vernon, yeah.
Well, that's 2 green flag pit stops potentially. So are they maybe nursing a problem as well. What an interesting start to this race. We're only 20 minutes in, but there have been more twists and turns than an Agatha Christie novel early on in this one. So, how is this gonna play out from here? There is so much strategy, so much action still to come. Wow, I did hear as well the number 88 machine. That was the slow-moving Mazda MX-5 that we saw. So that's got a broken shifter. It's in the lane. That should be repaired in the coming laps, and they should get that back out there. Dave Stillwell is an incredibly busy man in the lane. Dave, you got another update for us?
Well, I'm actually not that busy. I've just gone 2 garages down from D&E Autosport. We had both race leaders in just recently, the 86 and the 82. The 82, of course, back in with what we suspect might be a turbo issue. The crew for the 86 working frantically. The crew chief has told me they lost all fuel pressure after that stop. So potentially in the course of carrying out that refueling operation, something may have got jammed, something may have got knocked. The crew working frantically, as you see at the back here, they've got that aluminium fuel cell with the connectors going to it with the boot popped open. So the team just trying to make sure that that's all sorted. They've got a fire marshal on standby just in case, so the team exercising maximum precaution as they try to get the 86 back on the track.
Thanks for the update down there, Dave. To be honest, just getting that car out there was a miracle in itself. They had a front upright failure right at the end of qualifying, and unfortunately, they were fortunate to be able just to get that car onto the racetrack. But that number 8 machine, Kleeman and Muller, continues to limp around at virtually no pace.
I reckon they've got some sort of electrical or computer issue with that car. It wouldn't surprise me if it's gone into limp mode, hence the reason it's crawling quite slowly around the circuit. Obviously, they tried to rectify that problem before, but they've not been able to do so, and that car will be on its way back into the pits. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, back at the front of the motor race, it's been a bit hard to keep up with what's been going on in terms of what's actually happening in the motor race with the number of dramas that we've seen. But Benny Tran, our reigning champion, leads the race by 20.9 seconds over Max Gagan. So our reigning winner looking strong. From a strategic perspective, though, I'm still liking the number 77,
yes.
Todd Herring. He has completed one of his compulsory pit stops, and he got most of it, not all of it, but most of it underway, or out of the way, under safety car conditions. He's position 30 at the moment, and he is still almost 2 laps down, but he only has one more 5-minute stop to go to get to the end, and we know that car is fast.
I made a note. It did 3 of its 5 minutes under safety car conditions. The 818 is a couple of positions further up the road. That got an entire pit stop under safety car. The question for me, though, was it 2.5 minute stop, or was it its 5 minute stop?
It was a 5 minute stop. Yep.
Okay,
so they only have a 2.5 minute stop now to get to the end. So that's another car that is probably going to be in a pretty good strategic position as this plays out.
So I agree with you. The 77 is better off than our current race leader, but I think the 818, the teammate of our current race leader, is even better off again.
Yeah, yep. So that's always the thing about this race. When you read the race, it's not always the cars up in front that are in the best position, as this is wild stuff happening. As we see that car number 73 has a drive-through penalty for overtaking during the safety car period. So car number 73.
That's the Tom
Vichencevic and Bob Pupovac car. So that's one of the other BYP positives. That's obviously a big no-no, overtaking under safety car. So the officials have spotted that, and they're going to give that team a slap over the wrist.
You heard me gasp just before. The number 71 machine of Thornton and Totani. I think it's Totani behind the wheel at the moment. Had a big look up the inside of the Kevin Stubin, Karen Pridmore machine down into turn number 6, and it nearly ended in significant contact. That affected his run all through the next series of corners, and that great onboard from Viola showed that to great effect down in that sequence of corners. But it is the number 71 that remains ahead of the number 7 at the moment. Those two fighting in class. But look at this, just behind 791. The Boydell car, the Andrew Boydell car, has stayed out of problems early on. And this car won the Winton 300 just a few months ago as the number 8 comes into the lane. What a shame, already quite a few laps down, but that is another car that has come into the lane. I think we've already lost, Lockie, about 8 cars in this field of 60 that started. We've got just over 50 out there on the racetrack. Let's have a look. 51 currently circulating. So already we've lost 9 that we can cross off and say they are out of contention in this motor race.
So high early attrition rate, and of those cars, at least a couple of them are cars that we would have described as outright contenders as well. So the mechanical attrition taking its toll. Benny Tran, your race leader, ahead of Max Gagan. Glenn Townsend third, the leader of Division B. Chem Usel, Josh Haynes, Nathan LeBrock, Chris Sutton, Jamie Miller, Deepa Holtzell and Lee Burgess. That is your top 10 as they run at the moment. Burgess having a good battle at the moment with Kiara Zavatakis. And also the 818 car, which is a lap down but picking its way through.
Dave, I believe you're down there with that Golf that's just come in.
I am. I saw that car come in. Unfortunately, we were covering the 82 and the 86 a little bit earlier. Didn't quite get a chance to see what they were coming in for. A little bit of work around the right front corner. Car's gone out. It's come back in a lap or two later. Suspected drive shaft failure for one of the front axles. So that's a rather awkward story for the number 8 Volkswagen Golf. Other good news, we did see the 86 that was in the garage earlier with the fuel pressure issue. They've now resolved that. We also saw a discretionary pit stop for the number 53 MX-5. Driver ran a bit wide. They reckon that he picked up some debris, some marbles on the tyres, came back in complaining of what was possible wheel bearing damage. Team couldn't find anything wrong. They've checked everything over and sent that car back out. So a lot of teams playing it very cautiously tonight, rather than trying to send their precious metal into the concrete walls here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
Just as you're joining us, this car has caused a safety car to be deployed, but just as it was deployed, we've gone back, that car has got back underway once again. So the drama continues here in the Picture Partners Sydney 300. We expected the unexpected, but even this has been quite bizarre. So the number 29, that is Jonathan Fishburne and Bevan Tanner in their VT Commodore, came to a halt on the outside of turn number 1 while Dave was chatting to us. Caution thrown. Immediately, that car gets going again. Is there a little bit of a strategy? Is he trying to help a mate out or something? I don't think so. No, but we are 25 laps into the race. Now, this time, Lockie, I certainly expect a lot of the leaders in, and they are.
Yeah, Benny Tran coming straight on in, and quite a few of the other cars joining him in pit lane as well. That Commodore, incidentally, of Jonathan Fishburne and Bevan Tanner, a car that we regularly see in the New South Wales Production Touring Car Championship, started life as a 6-cylinder saloon car, but was then repowered by a V8 motor. And Bevan Tanner, we've seen him race Fords in the Production Touring Car category, as well as newer model Commodores, but that car causing this safety car. And let's check out the replay of what happened. He's gone rotating off the circuit at turn number 1. And the concern there for our clerk, of course, Nick Goring, would have been that that's obviously quite a high-speed, dangerous part of the track. He would have given it as much opportunity as he could to get restarted and get going again, but ultimately it is a pretty hazardous position, and hence the reason to deploy the Cherry Motor 5 safety car for its second appearance of the night.
Dave, it's pretty frantic down there.
It is. Any chance that there's a safety car where you can get one of your compulsory pit stops out of the way, you'll take that opportunity, because it costs you less laps. It costs you less track position through the course of the 77 laps of the Picture Partners Sydney 300. I thought we'd take a moment just to slow things down a little bit and have a look at how the Fast Track Experiences team is taking care of the pit stop for the number 101 of LeBrock and Elliott. So we've got the 60-litre drum with the rotary hand pump. It's got a normal nozzle on the end of it like you'd find at your normal service station fuel court. So we've got them attired in all the fuel, the fire retardant clothing. They've got the earth strap onto the car. They've got fire marshals there. Now, normally when you see a V8 supercar pit stop, you see the drivers slam into the pit board. You get 10 or 11 people descend upon the car, changing wheels, Siamese dry brake fuel system, and they're in and out within 30 seconds. Nothing like that for the Sydney 300, because the team has to take a minimum of 5 minutes to get rid of their compulsory pit stop. Indeed, any time you go to put any fuel in the car in the Sydney 300, you have to be stationary for a minimum of 2.5 minutes, which is what we've taken care of with the 101. And the Commodore is back into the fast lane, heading down to pit exit, and we'll keep an eye.
So the leaders are in the lane. So Benny Tran has come in. Interestingly, once again, Gagan staying out. So Gagan in the 555 and Josh Haynes in the 141 staying out. So that's very interesting. I think there's a bit of smoke coming from the back of the 101 machine. I note though, Lockie, the 777 machine pitted under safety car to do its first 5-minute stop under the first safety car, and the 777 has come in again, the Jones machine. So already the 2 compulsory pit stops out of the way. The issue for that car is, can it do 51 laps now to the end of the motor race on 1 tank of fuel? If it can, that is very much in contention as well.
Yeah, fuel range and whether or not you can get to the end, that'll play a big factor here. Now, our 2 leaders were Max Gagan and Josh Haynes. They've come in a lap later. That could be a disadvantage if we get a restart soon. That will leave, I think, Lee Burgess as the race leader, albeit he'll be a bit further back in the queue behind the safety car. Now, we know that the fuel range of car number 33, which incidentally is the highest place of our runners in Live and Learn Group Division C, is not that great, so they need to get a lot closer to the halfway mark of the race before they'll be comfortable coming into the pits and making it home on only 1 stop.
Yeah, Haynes said to us, didn't he? We spoke to him before. He said we really don't know what our fuel length is, so they're sort of going into the unknown in the 141 machine. This is probably going to be a really quick caution, as that Holden, the number 29 machine, rejoined even as the safety car was called. It's going to be an incredibly short safety car period, and that means that some of these guys that are trying to do their 5-minute stop or their 2.5-minute stop may find themselves still in the lane when we go back to green flag conditions. It's now the number 80 C-Class BMW that leads the motor race. Now, that car last year was just plagued with mechanical issues, really, from the word go. So it's nice to see, and I'm touching wood as I say it, that so far that number 80 BMW is running nicely.
They were actually pretty quick in Division C last year as well before they had those mechanical problems. And I think it must have been a bit of a timing glitch, because they are actually running ahead of the Burgess combination at the moment. So Dieter Holtzel in that BMW, your outright race leader, ahead of Lee Burgess and Adam Gosling. So we've got a trio of Division C cars leading the race outright at the moment. And it's always so hard to read when you get to this stage of the race with all of the different strategies playing out.
I was going to say, what variety though? A BMW M-Class car, a Mitsubishi Evo and a Honda Civic, all in Class C, all fighting against each other, all setting almost identical laps, 46.3, 46.5 and a 47.0 as their fastest laps in this race. So they are very equally matched, as we see the Lotus Exige sole Lotus in this race. That is the number 173 machine that's out there in the pit lane. That's the Glenn Townsend and Aaron Wames machine.
And that is their 5-minute stop out of the way for that car. So they will be another one of our Division B runners that will only have a 2.5-minute pit stop to go now to get to the finish.
Yeah, I'm looking further down the timing chart to see whether 5-minute stops have been completed. The youngest Herring is also in the lane once again. 5 minutes 2 seconds for the 222. They've timed that pit stop to absolute perfection. 5 minutes and 2 seconds for the little Golf. That's exactly what you want. You want to try and get it bang on 5 minutes when you exit that pit lane. We saw in the XL race a few minutes earlier before this one. Several people in fact, really got their pit stop sequence wrong, and it meant that they received a 5-lap penalty for that infringement. And the MX-5's come to a stop at the end of pit lane.
That's because the red light's on, because the train behind the safety car is passing pit lane. And that was actually one of the things that I noticed there, Dan, was that Glenn Townsend and Aaron Wemyss in that Lotus, not sure if they did a driver change. Timing says that it's still Townsend in the car, but he only just beat the safety car to the end of pit lane. So he was able to get out of the pits just before the safety car and the train came through. That's a big advantage, because he's going to be basically an entire lap better off than if he'd been a couple of seconds later and got stuck at the red light at pit exit. Absolutely agree with you there, Lockie. You've basically gained a lap, haven't you? By just beating the queue out, you can rejoin the back of the field. Well, we are only just over a third of the way through this race. It's been an incredibly frantic start to the 2024 edition of the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300. Oh, and we're almost coming to a stop on the exit of turn number 3. If you're just joining us, we'll be honest, you have missed quite a lot of action, but we can promise you there is going to be plenty more action to come in this motor race. Plenty ahead of us. We have 50 laps left to go in this 300-kilometre race. And Dave, you got another update?
I do, guys. I'm down here with a fairly sweaty-looking number 173, Glenn Townsend. He's just jumped out of his Lotus XGs. He's put his co-driver Aaron Weems in. Nothing to worry about. 5-minute pit stop. Get the fuel in the car. But Glenn, you are going to have to stop again to make it to the end.
Yeah, for our class, Class B, we have to stop 2 times, so we will be putting another 50 litres in the car. The car's going really well at this point in time. We were leading our class. We planned to come in about 25 laps, and it came in at 24, so we're happy.
So you're on strategy, and it's a really cool vibe down here in Garage 41. I see a lot of my friends from production sports car racing in New South Wales. Oh, wait, he's got the shirt on. There we go. I'll be looking forward to joining you guys at some point again in my Mustang, but great job today. And, what can you tell us about the track conditions? Is it clean online? Is it clean offline? What's it like out there?
Well, fortunately, I haven't had to go offline too much. Drivers have been courteous to me. They can see me closing at quick speed, so they've been very courteous. Track's standing up really well.
That's fantastic news. We've just gone green here again at the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300.
Yes, we have. Thanks very much, Dave. As we see them bolt in towards turn number 1. You can hear a couple of brakes lockups chirping down into turn number 2. The very tight hairpin. So the top 6 cars in this motor race are Class C machines. That is quite remarkable. Beyond that, then it's B, 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 and then a Class D car inside the top 10 as well. Our youngest competitor out there, Kiara, I just saw. She came into the lane just a few moments ago, so unfortunately, she'll be spending a lot of green flag running in the pit lane for her compulsory pit stop in Class C. But over the brow of the hill, 2 very different era Commodores, a VT and a VF Commodore, Lockie.
Good to see some Commodores still running around and some of the later model VFs in the field. We've got a couple of them in the race tonight. Just thinking about how that pit stop cycle played out. So because he was able to get his stop done under safety car, Benny Tran has rejoined the race on the same lap as Todd Herring. So those 2 very fast Division A cars still on the same lap. Todd Herring is ahead. He's in 9th position and Benny Tran is in 17th, a bit further back. But those cars are on the same lap. They're a lap down on the race leader at the moment, who obviously hasn't stopped yet.
Notably, the 818 machine that pitted under the first safety car pit stop is ahead of just the 81, so it's actually now behind Todd Herring. So I'm not sure whereabouts that has played out, but that's interesting. That's sort of where the battle is at the moment. But let's call the on-track action, Lockie, because there is plenty of it as the VRAG Commodore goes up the inside there into turn number 1 and is once again on the tail of the 29 machine, which of course caused that safety car to stay a few moments ago. And there is the race leader, the number 80, right in the middle of things. Here we go up the inside, the Lotus. 1, 2, are we going to get 3 moves up the inside? No, not quite. Had to take to the curb, all 4 wheels over there. And in a car that is so low, you're going to be feeling that through the back.
Did well there not to nail the raceway track time. Mazda MX-5 there at turn number 6. Hopefully that hasn't flat spotted the tyres too badly and caused any underbody damage.
I'm hearing, Lockie, that Dave has got a very disappointed Josh Buchan down there in the lane.
Well, guys, it is an unfortunate time of the evening when we have to have a chat with Josh Buchan this early. Josh, unfortunately, the number 31 didn't quite make it to this point of the race.
Yeah, it was going well. I passed a few cars. We were in a pretty good spot. Car felt great. We finally thought we cleared all the issues, and then, yeah, the engine expired in a pretty significant way, second to last corner. So, car racing.
It is a little bit like that. I mean, you know, you've known Charlie for quite a long time, and you said, we were having a chat before we went on air, there was a lot of potential in the car. I think you only got a chance to run the car in some not quite ideal conditions. What were your initial thoughts on the car?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty fresh build. The car is excellent. It's got a huge ceiling. The potential in it is pretty significant. So I guess once it's unlocked and it's reliable, it'll definitely be back and in contention for sure.
Fantastic. So can we look forward to seeing you at either the Winton 300 maybe in a few months' time or next year's Pitcher Partners Sydney 300?
I don't know about Winton. I don't know what the dates are. I don't really know what I'm doing tomorrow, to be fair. So I'll definitely be back next year for this, though. I can't seem to win this, and I'm pretty motivated too. So we'll be back.
So that's a highly dejected, highly motivated, but not so very well organised Josh Buchan here in DNA Autosport for the number 31 Honda.
Shame we don't have a spare headset up here in the commentary box because Josh is quite the gun commentator.
He is.
And we have seen him on TV as part of the coverage of the Shannon's Speed Series. But an early shower for both him and Charlie Puri tonight in the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300.
I just noticed there, Lockie, the number 86, the early race leader, Jimmy Vernon, is back out on the racetrack, albeit a lot of laps down. Oh, only 4 laps down, actually. I do think that is probably a few too many, probably out of contention, but a lot less laps down than I first thought. And that's the first time I've seen that car on the track since it came into the lane a few laps ago. But the fight is on a bit further back. There's the 818 machine, one of our real contenders at this stage of the race, sweeping around the outside of the number 22 of Jamie Miller. He's doing it solo this weekend in Class B and doing a really good job so far in this race. He sits in position number 8 and he's done one of his pit stops. He's actually one of the highest placed drivers that has completed a stop. And you're pointing because there is a theoretical change for the lead. The number 81 overtakes the number 818. The teammates change positions. The reigning race winner taking that place.
Yes, so Benny Tran moving up into what will be 9th position outright. Spare a thought as well for the driver of that number 132, the blue Lexus that you can see on the screen there, Wayne Movigliati. It's his first ever motor race in anything. Talk about throwing yourself in the deep end, the baptism of fire. 60 cars under lights, travelling at all different speeds here at Sydney Motorsport Park. But to his credit, Wayne is holding his own so far.
He's been hung out to dry a bit there, but he showed great heads-up driving, great racecraft to see what was happening in his mirrors. Step aside. Yeah, okay, he probably lost a place that he's fighting for in that, but nevertheless, he resets. There's no damage on the car, and that's what a lot of drivers have failed to do so far in this race. We say it's been a race of attrition, and that has certainly been the case. The 101 up the inside. This car, we are both a really big fan of the 101 machine, that Commodore on the screens in front of us. Nathan owns that car. It's only the third race meeting for that machine. The other two are in Super TT at Calder Park and here at Sydney Motorsport Park. So this is really going into the great unknown for that car. Super TT race is only about 15 minutes in length, so this is by far and away already the longest race that Commodore has done. And I think there might be a little bit of smoke coming out the back of it as well. Yesterday in practice, I went to them. I saw significant smoke coming from the front of it at one point, and they were saying, yeah, she runs a bit rich on the old oil, but there isn't too much to worry about. Yeah, okay, there's a few teething issues with the car, but that's what you expect when it's only done a couple of small race meetings.
Certainly has plenty of horsepower. Big 6.6 litre V8. Basically, it's a stroker version of the LS2 V8 engine that powered plenty of Commodores here in Australia for a number of years, so it's got no shortage of straight line speed, but over a long endurance distance it is a big heavy car that will be quite hard on its brakes and tyres. Oh gee, that's tyres down into turn number 1 with Harris around the outside of Webber. Cars that are going to have completely different strengths and weaknesses. Look at how the Lotus gathers up the Commodore under brakes heading down into turn 2.
Here is the Slattery 222 Golf. How is that machine running at the moment, Lockie? As we say, a real contender here last year. It pitted under the last safety car period on lap number 25 of the race. So got one of the compulsory 5-minute stops out of the way. Of course, being a Class B competitor, it actually only now has the 2.5-minute stop to go. So I think this car could be in contention at this point in the race. I'm certainly counting it amongst one of the favourites at this early stage.
I still think Todd Herring and Benny Tran are looking pretty good. Those cars now separated by just 14 seconds, and they're both on the same strategy and on the same lap. They've each got one more 5-minute compulsory pit stop to go, but critically, both those cars now back on the lead lap as well relative to our race leaders.
However, both the 818 and this car, the 222, have 2.5 minutes less to do in the final stop, which is about a lap and a half or a lap and a third. So they've got to really make hay and break away from the B class challenge, because at the moment it is looking quite favourably for the B class competitors at this point in the motor race. But there is still plenty more to come. 33 laps down, 44 laps remaining, and this is what I was saying about the Slattery Golf. It might be a Golf, but it is super fast. Oh, there's some debris on the outside at turn 8 that's just been run over and pushed right onto the racing line. Not quite sure what that is. Pop plant.
Pop plant.
Yeah, it does. I guarantee it isn't that.
Just noticed as well that Jackson Copeland in that number 86 Mazda MX-5, which had some problems after leading earlier on, has just punched out the fastest lap of the race with 1 minute 38.0034, which is as close as you want to dare to going underneath that 1 minute 38 cut-off and earning a strike.
I think it's a case now of just throw caution to the wind. If you get excluded from the race, so be it, I think, is the motto there. Oh, the 88 is off again. This is the car that had the shifter problems just a few laps ago, and has that problem reared its ugly head once again on the exit of turn number 2. And we've gone a yellow light at that particular corner. Turn number 3, whether or not that car can be fixed or not. So that was the car that we saw running slowly earlier on. They brought it into the pits. It was a shifter problem. It was struggling to select gears. They managed to repair it. They've got it out on the track once again. But that, to me, could be a repeat of that issue, the way that car has stopped. Maybe not got any gears at all this time.
And
oh no!
More problems. That's the Sheedy and Joyce VF Commodore pulling off drivers left. That's heading up into the final sequence of corners through towards turns 9, 10 and 11. So that car's managed to get itself into a fairly safe position. The number 88 car of Jackson Fraser, not quite sure if it's so safe, and it'll be interesting to see if the Cherry Motor 5 safety car makes another appearance. And that's a big mechanical failure for that Commodore.
Brilliant.
Could be a gearbox problem, perhaps.
Brilliant that it was caught on the Picture Partners replay as the number 88 gets going. But what great images from Blendline TV to capture that in real time and replay that to us just like that. But yes, I think this is definitely a repeat of the shifter issues for the number 88 Mazda MX-5. Of course, there's more MX-5s than any other model machine here in the race this year. 16 Mazdas, the most populous mark in the race this year. And there is one overtaking it and one right behind it. So that just shows, but yeah, 16 Mazdas making up the 16 cars in this field. And it was Mazda MX-5s that took victory in the hands of Todd Herring in edition 1 and 2 of this motor race. So the MX-5s do have good history around this Sydney Motorsport Park circuit. And we've just, Lockie, gone safety car.
Indeed we have, and I think that's probably a concern for the Commodore, the Ian Joyce and Ben Sheedy VF that has stopped. There might be a concern about some potential fluid being left on the racetrack, but well, I reckon we might see some more pit stops taking place under this safety car, particularly among those cars that have to do 2 pit stops, and in fact even the Division C cars will probably be starting to think about their pit stops now that we're getting close to that halfway stage of the race.
Hall is in the 818 for its final stop, importantly. So there'll be a driver change there. Hall has been in since the start of the race. He will hand over to Jimmy Tran, who's been so close to winning a 300, but is still yet to do so, Lockie. So close, particularly at the Winton 300 a couple of years ago.
Heartbreakingly close to victory in the Winton 300 in 2022, where on the second to last lap he had a commanding lead, and a late mechanical problem with an engine sensor ultimately cost him victory to his brother.
Yeah, it was a sort of a bittersweet win, I think, for Benny Tran, wasn't it? But he's had great success since then, winning the Sydney 300 here last year. But didn't quite go his way last year. Oh, sorry, actually, Benny didn't drive in the Winton 300 last year. But again, it was the Trans that looked pretty good for most of the race there. But in the end, it went the way of the 791 MX-5, driven by Boydell and Walsh. No Walsh this weekend, just Boydell. But we're looking at the VRAG and Evans machine with some fuel flooding out the back. I'm sure that is petrol coming out the tail end of that machine. That's really not what you want to see. You can hear the crews calling for fire extinguishers. They'll be on that quickly. It's quite chaotic down there in the lane once again. Todd Herring, the number 77, is in the lane for his second stop of this race. This has been beneficial for the Class A cars, Lockie. Although they've got 2.5 extra minutes in the pits, it's unlikely that under safety car, a car will do 2.5 minutes. They should still stay on that lead lap, if you follow what I'm saying.
Indeed, and it means that they probably should be able to get out still within QE of the likes of Drew Hall and also those Division C cars that only have to make the single pit stop. But the officials will be keeping an eagle eye out to see if anybody spills fuel, and there will be some penalties handed down post-race to anybody who has been found to have transgressed. Our race-leading number 80 BMW of Dieter and Alex Holzel is in pit lane, so they're going to get their one and only 5-minute compulsory pit stop underway, as well as Todd Herring, Benny Tran now in as well. So both those leading Division A cars in for their second 5-minute stops as well. So from this point, they'll be right to go through to the finish.
Yeah, you'd think so. And we are back to green, Lockie. Very short pit stop. We can see the Cherry safety car in the corner of the shot. That's even caught our cameraman by surprise. It was such a quick restart. I see you pointing, Lockie. You've noticed something?
I was just about to make the point that in supercar racing, we often talk about double stacking and the headaches that can cause. Here at the Sydney 300, it's more like triple or quadruple stacking there in pit lane at the moment. And I just noticed that Benny Tran wasn't able to get into his pit bay because I think it was already occupied by, it might have even been his teammate, the 818 car. So hopefully that's not going to be too much of an issue with being able to get the refueling equipment connected up to that car, because even though it is 5 minutes and you do have time, you still don't want to be sitting there wasting time for too long.
This is not good for the A-class cars, so Herring, Benny Tran are still in the lane and will be for another 2.5 minutes, while the B-class cars have been able to exit the lane. Here comes the Ray White-sponsored Evo Lancer up the inside on the 222. The 311 runs wide. There's real class contenders in this fight. They don't want to get mixed up with each other, but this is for position in the C and B classes, and it's frantic back there. The 222 of Slattery, the 321 of the Mitsubishi Evo of Sutton in there as well, and they are fighting away in the mid-pack. So here's the 222, currently sitting in position number 6, Lockie, but importantly has not done the second compulsory pit stop yet.
Also, Drew Hall, being a Division B car, that car with him and Benny Tran only had to stop for 2.5 minutes, because he'd already did its 5-minute stop earlier, but they've been in the pits for well over 4 minutes. So this has been a long stop for that car for some reason as well. That's going to be a big disadvantage for them compared to some of the other Division B runners.
Unless they only did the 2.5 minute in the first one, but you're convinced.
Keep an eye on it. 100%. They already did their 5-minute stop.
I trust you, Lockie. I certainly trust you with this kind of thing.
4 minutes and 46, so that's been a long stop for that car.
That's ruling that car at least temporarily out of contention, because that was one of the favourites, because effectively that could have come out 2.5 minutes earlier and been right in contention. Dave, you got another update for us?
Thanks, guys. Well, I was hoping to give you a walkthrough of a pit stop conducted with the Siamese dry brake coupling that we're used to seeing at events like the Bathurst 6 Hour. And I thought, what a better option than to position myself next to the Car 42, who, of course, have run in New South Wales production touring car and Bathurst 6 Hour events before. Well-oiled team. They put the fuel in the car. Everything looked good. Of course, that's when we started to go safety car. Unfortunately, just as they started doing their driver change, fuel started leaking out of the car in the right rear corner. Looks like they had a failure of a breather or a blow-off vent. The team member, when they actually depressed the Siamese dry brake coupling again, actually had fuel squirt out and nearly hit them in the face. So the fuel tank was quite pressurised in the back of the number 42 Commodore. Speaking about things in the back of, we've got the number 88 Mazda MX-5 back in the lane. The driver dejectedly tells me that he's changed the gearbox into a Swiss gearbox because it's currently full of neutrals.
Lockie looking at the penalty section in the special regulations of the Picture Partner Sydney 300. Point 28.1, Section E. Spilling fuel during refueling, a 5-lap penalty will be coming the way of the 42 machine. Of that, there is no doubt.
Yep, and that's going to rule them well and truly out of contention. That's a great shame for that car. Both Todd Herring and Benny Tran back out onto the racetrack in 5 minutes and 1 second. So they cut it extremely fine there, but that's okay. They were still over the minimum pit stop time, so that is all A-OK. And they're two of the cars that they're outside the top 20 at the moment, but with a lot of pit stops and strategy still to play out, we do expect those cars to be potentially fighting for outright victory later on in the race.
Should touch on the fact, Lockie, if you watched the race last year, you might have seen a refueling drama and there was no penalty given. You're at the driver's briefing this morning. That is a new rule, isn't it, introduced for this year?
Correct. So the determination has basically been made that any fuel being spilled in pit lane for any reason whatsoever, particularly this year with such a large field and also the number of personnel in pit lane, it's dangerous and it needs to be avoided, and therefore there will be penalties applied for any fuel that's spilled for any reason. So it's something that's really being tracked down on this year.
Jump on board with the Picture Partners sponsored machine, the number 7 of Viola, who's having a action-packed day in the office. You saw a few hand gestures earlier on, waving hands at slower traffic, but staying out of trouble early on in the Pulsar. Has won a couple of classes in the past, trying to go for a different class win this year.
Well, originally they planned to go for the win in Division C, but they've
C,
ended up
yes.
in Division B. We're just about to tick over the half race distance mark. In fact, we just have in 1 hour and 19 minutes. So the race record for the Sydney 300 is 2 hours and 25 minutes, which was set by Todd Herring in 2021. I'm not sure that we're going to get there this year.
It'd have to be
We've already
green.
had 3 safety car interventions. You're right, it would have to be green from here through to the end if we're to be a chance of eclipsing that race record.
Just touching on the points I started, Viola and Harahan won D class in 2019 and then won C together in 2021. And there's a smoky machine on the screen. I can't quite pick up which one it is. Is it the Exige? It is. Oh dear. What do they say about Lotuses?
Oh, Glenn Townsend, when I caught up with him earlier this morning, he made the point that the car has run really well at other racetracks, but they haven't had any luck with it here. And once again, it looks like that Lotus is going to be limping. As to your question, what do they say about Lotuses? What's the acronym? Lots of trouble, usually serious.
Yes.
Looks like there might be a bit of trouble coming the way of Glenn Townsend and Aaron Wemmers at this stage of the race.
And they currently sit in position number 3 on the road. The best sitting car of any in the race that has completed a pit stop. Yeah, okay, it's Class B. They do have to do another pit stop, but nevertheless, they were looking in a good position. It seems to be coming notably over the far left-hand side from the tail of the shot, so not quite sure what that is. It's a bit strange, not smoking all of the time either, but that car, the 173 Lotus Exige, has come into the lane. The top 2, Burgess in the Evo and Gosling in the Honda Civic, sit a lap clear of the rest of the field, but those 2 are yet to complete a stop. One of only a couple of cars really yet to complete a stop. And in comes the 173 machine. I note the 147 machine has made its stop. Sorry, the 141. Ricketts has jumped behind the wheel, so the reigning, or current, sorry, series leader in TA2, Josh Haynes, has jumped out of that Nissan Pulsar, and it's going to be Ricketts that is going to bring the car home. But this is smoking really badly, and I think this might be quite a long fix for the Lotus Exige in Class B.
Oil under the AccuSump.
And Dave's notice says oil under the AccuSump.
Whenever there's smoke like that, you always hope that it's something simple like loose bodywork rubbing on a tyre, but obviously in this situation it's something a bit more serious, and that's probably not going to be a quick fix. Good news is that they can get their second compulsory pit stop out of the way. They do still have a 2.5 minute pit stop to go.
Correct.
So they'll be no doubt trying to take that opportunity, but that's a shame. They were having a good battle with the number 222 VW Golf at the time, but once again, just like we saw last year, that number 222 car starting to float its way towards the top of the order when it counts.
And it's only got 1 2.5 minute stop to do as well. Is it on the same lap? No, it's a lap ahead, importantly, of the 81, the 818, and all of those machines, the 777, the Herrings, and both of the Tran Brothers machines. So that's important, because that means that car will still be in contention when it makes its final stop. It's all starting, all the puzzle pieces are beginning to fall into place. We can now see the finish line, and we can work their strategies out from here. Who needs to pit once more? Who's done all their compulsory pit stops, done and out of the way? It's all starting to make sense, and it's looking at the moment like it's looking good for the Class A runners at this point in time. Notably, though, the Class A runners that have done both pit stops in 8th position. Vincent has jumped behind the wheel. Max Gagan has jumped out, but they still have 1 5-minute gulp to take. So, according to my calculations, the best placed car that does not have to stop again, I think, is car number 13, the Giantini brothers in their Honda Civic. They're in Division B. They're currently sitting in 10th position.
and they've already done both their compulsory pit stops. So I believe that number 13 car was the highest placed car that does not have another stop.
While you're looking at that, Lockie, the number 53 machine of Ronin Lindmeyer and Michael Buckley is hardly moving. Their cars keep bolting left and right, trying to avoid it in the hairpin and in the straight line. Oh no, Chris Sutton, there's a puncture. You saw it at the same time as me. Yeah, the 3-2-1, a front right puncture. This was an issue last year, wasn't it, for the Evos? I actually asked the Burgesses, who are now leading the motor race, do you expect it to be an issue this year? They said not with our car, but it could potentially be an issue for other Evos again. And that's the first time we've seen it this weekend in this weekend in this motor race. Dave, you got an update?
Yeah, I think we're starting to put the commentator's curse on a couple of competitors, because it appears everyone we speak to seems to not have that much of a good night here at the Sydney 300. We had a chat with Glenn Townsend from the number 173 Better Marine Weems Transport 173 Lotus. Unfortunately, it looks like they've had a terminal engine lubrication system failure, what they call an AccuSump. It's an external oil reservoir that allows you to maintain oil pressure in an engine that doesn't potentially run a dry sump oil system. It's not just had a leak, it's basically blown the end off that canister. So it's a failure I have never seen before in my time, and I've been dealing with those things for over 20 years. So definitely something for the team to investigate before they come back for the next edition in the 300k endurance specials.
Thanks, Dave. While you were talking to us, I sure saw in the back of the shop the 101 machine has come in for a third pit stop, and they're looking under that car. And on our timing screen to go on safety car, there is a Mazda in the wall. Car number 86, that is the Jimmy Vernon machine that was leading the race early on. He's now handed the car over to his co-driver at the wheel of that machine. That's Jackson Copperman, but that car has come to blows into the tie wall at turn number 3. Yeah, it is definitely the 86 machine, so thanks to Shane Rogers and the Blendline team for letting me know that one. It certainly is the 86 car off the road. It was 4 laps down, it was running strongly, but yet another caution period. I've lost count now. We're up to 4, 5?
Yeah, 4. Which is the second most safety cars that we've had in the Sydney 300. And we've still got, obviously, a fair way to go as well. But you'll see a lot of teams taking this chance to get their final pit stops out of the way.
Yes. All of them, Slattery in, importantly, Gosling in the 43, Honda Civic in for its sole pit stop as well. The 22 Mitsubishi Evo of Miller in for its final stop. The Ricketts Haynes car in for its final pit stop as well. So many of the contenders are in the lane. So this could be I think basically everybody will get their final stops done here, and then it should be green to the finish. Something's not right with this Totani car. The Matthew Totani car is going to be pushed into the garage. The number 71 machine has been running strongly here today. He's a good little peddler, is Matthew in... Oh, it's actually Matthew's out of the car. It's his co-driver that's behind the wheel.
Craig Thornton, who owns that car. Also, this safety car will minimise some of the pain for Chris Sutton, because he's going to be able to take some of this pit stop under safety car. And just coming back to the point about the front right-hand tyres on the Evos, we've seen it here in the past in production car endurance races as well. The front right-hand tyre on the Evos, it cops an absolute pounding around here, particularly through turn 1 and also coming around Corporate Hill. So not that much of a surprise to see that car experiencing that sort of failure, as we see cars being held at the pit exit while the safety car and the train behind the safety car passes pit exit. The drivers will wait there till the green light comes on, which it does now, and then they'll head back out onto the racetrack.
Absolutely well called there, Lockie. So another reset. Surely the Burgess car comes into the lane this time through. They're yet to pit. There's only now 33 laps in this motor race remaining. We're over half distance. Surely that is what is going to be done. And off the track is Copperman. Thumbs up to the marshals. He is all okay. I was watching a couple of supercar replays, and a big crash I remember here for Stephen Richards back in 2007 at that very corner. There's been some big ones over the years at turn number 3, but yeah, that one I was watching just the other day. I was actually Jimmy Vernon behind the wheel of that car as it's hit the wall, and I was speaking to him just before, so I've put the commentator's curse on him, clearly. Lockie, who have you spoken to that's come into dramas today?
I spoke to Daniel Kapitanovic. He was pretty much the first retirement from the race. Him and Adam Thompson. Also, Lee Burgess has chosen to come in and get that car's sole compulsory pit stop out of the way. He'll hand the car over to his dad, Jerry, for the run home. Got a couple of Division D cars out there that haven't come in yet. The number 23 Division D entry of Ben Oldfield and Malcolm Steele. That's one of the Mazda MX-5s. Also, the Tierneys in their Toyota 86 yet to come in for their single compulsory pit stop as well. Also, just on the fringe, top 13 in 13th place, the 151 machine of Craig Barney. He's currently behind the wheel, sharing the car with Andrew McLaughlin. They've got an MX-5, and they have also yet to pit. I think those are the remaining 3 that haven't stopped. Everybody else in the race has, and I think most of them should be good to make it home from here. So, the highest placed car that is completed. Actually, we'll wait for them all to finish their stops under the safety car before we delve into it a little more, because there's certain cars that have just come in that'll have to do a 5-minute stop. So let's wait for the timing to reset once everybody is out of the lane at the end of this caution period, and then we can really get a good assessment of exactly what has gone wrong. Who is where? I was about to say, I wonder what, though, has gone wrong with Jimmy Vernon. Do you think it's a mechanical issue? Do you think he's made contact with somebody? It's a strange place to go off the road by yourself, turn number 3, Lockie. For somebody of his experience, I'd imagine that there probably has been some sort of mechanical issue. As we say, the Burgess is taking the opportunity to change the loaded side or the working side tyres on their Mitsubishi Evo. And you can see a fair bit of wear has gone through that front right-hand tyre, so a precautionary option to do a tyre change on that car.
Dave Stillwell describing it, you may have heard as toast. That's the official scientific
burnt
definition.
Toast?
Yeah, but burnt
It's
toast.
not avocado on toast, it's properly toast.
Yes, thank you, Dave, for your scientific input on the matter down there in the lane. But yes, we are under caution period, lap number 41 of this race. The 555 Vincent car, the BMW Vincent and Gagan is also in the lane. So that's quite important. Been in for nearly 3 minutes, so just a couple of minutes to go, and that'll be their 5 minutes done and dusted. The question is, will they come out ahead of the Jimmy Tran car? I think it could be a possibility, you know. We'll see how it all plays out, though.
I wouldn't be surprised if they put Max Gagan back in that car for the run home as well.
Not a bad shout.
He's been the faster of the 2 drivers so far this weekend. And if they can get him back in the car, he's every chance of being one of those drivers contending for victory.
I'm looking through my notes, Lockie, and I've not seen a minimum laps that must be completed.
There is no minimum laps that must be completed. You could do the, who was it? Bruce McPhee and Barry Mulholland strategy from Bathurst in the late 60s if you want, and have one driver who only does 1 lap.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be repeated at the 1000 anytime soon. Of course, they do have a minimum laps that must be completed. 54 it is at the 1000, but we don't have that here. Starters, of course, over the years, you've seen a steady increase. Got the record last year, 47 starters. We have well and truly blown that out of the water here this weekend.
Oh, Benny
Capacity
Tran.
Field. Oh, Benny Tran
back in. And I noticed a loose left side skirt on the BYP Honda Integra as he drove past our commentary position at pit entry. So I'm wondering if he's had some contact or maybe run over a curb or something and damaged that car. But this is obviously an unscheduled stop for Benny Tran, given that he has already completed both of his compulsory pit stops.
I also see it's saying he's 5 laps down to Todd Herring, who moments ago he was on the same lap as. 5-lap penalty, you know what that is as well as I do. That is for being under the minimum pit stop time. So that car is out of contention anyway. That car is not going to win this motor race. Where are we? 5 laps down.
Wow. Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm just seeing it reset timings scrolling through in front of us as it is for you guys on the left-hand side of the timing screen. Benny Tran is definitely a number of laps down, so I think this car has already been dealt a hefty 5-lap penalty for not completing the minimum 5-minute pit stop. We should explain, in Class A, you have to do 2 5-minute pit stops. If you do under 5 minutes, if you complete the tour of the lane in under 5 minutes, you are dealt a 5-lap penalty.
Or it could have been another infringement like spilling fuel during the pit stop that they've been penalised for. Either
Possibly.
way, they've bolted a new front right-hand tyre on it and sent it. So, unfortunately, for our reigning winner, out of contention for back-to-back victories in the Sydney 300. We've got another new race leader, by the way. We've now got, would you believe, a Crisis Transport and Logistics Division D car leading the race outright. Ben Oldfield and Malcolm Steele, the number 23 Mazda MX-5, leads this race.
Yeah, you mentioned there the Division D, Crisis Transport and Logistics. We've got to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors in all of the divisions. Lendrive Finance in Division A, MJS Electrical Products and Supplies in Division B, Live and Learn Group in Division C, Crisis Transport and Logistics, as you say, in Division D, and then Entcon Enterprise Connect in Division E. So many sponsors jumping on board with the Picture Partners Sydney 300 event this year, which is really cool to see. And I did hear in my ear that there's just a couple of wall repairs they're doing down there, so this could be a reasonably lengthy caution period. As we look back through the years, Division A generally has won this race 3 out of 4 occasions, but in the very wet race of 2022, the year that Dylan Thomas and Cody Brzezinski took the victory in their Mitsubishi, it was a B-class car that did take the victory on that day. And we can see the Jimmy Vernon machine. Doesn't look like it's got too much major damage or anything, so not quite sure there. But nevertheless, that car is once again being towed back into the lane. I'm hearing that the wall repairs were not too significant, which is great news, and we will be back underway in the not too distant future. Didn't expect to see this car back in the lane. This is a 3rd pit stop. Now, Class B cars don't need to do 3 pit stops. What has happened here? For Slattery, 2 of the cars that were right in contention. Are we doing a driver change? No, I don't think so. Why is this car back here, Lockie? They're putting fuel in the car. Have they underfueled it? That's bizarre. That is absolutely bizarre, and they're sending it back away once again. So a quick splash and dash under safety car conditions. Is he going to get a green light? Yes, he is. That's good news. And he'll rejoin the back of the train. But that's really costly for the car that is right in the hunt for not only the B-class victory, but the race victory.
Well, the problem is that he's given away a lot of the head start that he would have had over, in particular, I'm looking at Todd Herring at the race start, because he's now going to be behind Todd Herring in the queue at the race start, whereas prior to coming into that splash and dash, he was actually a lap ahead of the 777 car. So it actually, when you think about Todd Herring, he's going to be chasing down and trying to get, currently in 10th position, but he's going to be chasing down all of the cars ahead and going for the outright victory. His task just got that a little bit easier, and it's now Ian Salteri who's going to be at the back of the queue, and with all of the work to do with negotiating the traffic at this safety car race start.
Dave, you're in the lane down there with the number 32 machine.
I am, and one of the mechanics that's been working on the car is one of the team that I work with for the Kalis Kenny Intellects Lawyers Production Sports Cars Victorian Championship. Unfortunately, he's given me the this car's had it. We've had a left front wheel bearing failure. I don't know what it is that's going on, because I had a chat to Jimmy Vernon and a bit of a pat on the back. He had a left front or a right front upright failure. So despite the fact there's been no change to the track in the last 12 months, so many cars experiencing, suspension or upright issues as a result of the pace tonight. So I don't know what's happened, but a lot of drivers experiencing unexpected technical issues through the course of the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300.
I don't know about you, Lockie, but I think that's just because they're pushing the cars to the absolute limits this year. They have to find the limits of these cars. They can't just cruise around and try and win the motor race.
So after our 5th safety car intervention, the Cherry Motor 5 is back in pit lane, and we are back underway with 32 laps remaining. Your race leader is the Adam Gosling and Brent Howard Honda Civic at this point. Another different race leader. A bit further back in the queue because they didn't wave cars past the safety car to get to the race leader, because the race leaders, when the safety car came out, made pit stops. But it is Gosling who leads the way ahead of Burgess. Salteri back to 3rd position, and we've still got, I think, 14 or 15 cars on the lead lap at this stage, albeit they are a bit mixed up in track position. 14 to be precise, as a result of the fact that we didn't actually have the leader at the head of the queue at that safety car restart.
Oh, sorry, mate. The record of people finishing on the lead lap is 6.
Yep, in 2022.
And we are well ahead of that at this stage of the motor race, but there is still so much to play out. I think we can say thanks to that because of just what you said. Gosling leads the race, but he's miles back in this queue right towards the tail of it. And we're seeing another safety car on our screens, and it's the 311 Mazda MX-5 that caused one of the early race safety cars. It's come to a halt once again out there on the racetrack. Last time it was at turn 5. This time it's at the final corner. It never even made the green flag.
So this safety car is going to be good news for some of those faster cars like Todd Herring that are a bit further back, because the safety car will now pick up the race leader, and we should get a bit of a reset as far as making sure that our leaders are in order, as it were, behind the safety car when we go racing once again. But this is safety car number 6, so we're now only one away from the record number of safety cars for this race, and we've still got 31 laps to go. I'll tell you one record that's not going to get broken today, and that is the race record.
Yes.
With this number of safety cars, there is absolutely no way that will be getting to 2 hours and 25 minutes race time tonight.
We might be on for the longest. This present race even longer than the very wet race of 2022. But we ride on board with Slattery. He's done all his compulsory pit stops. In fact, he did an extra one just for good merit under that last caution period. A little splash and dash just to make sure they can make it to the end on this tank of fuel.
But they added fuel. When you add fuel, how long are you supposed to be in pit lane for?
Now you mention it. 2.5 minutes, is it not?
I reckon they might be in a bit of strife.
Let's have a look. I'll have a look through the penalties. Or do you want to do that? I'll continue to talk us through the race as the 311 machine gets towed into the lane. Lockie Menzel delves in to the regulations, and you've already found it.
Rule number 19.14 in the special regulations for the Sydney 300. It is compulsory for any pit stop where refuelling is taking place to take 2 minutes and 30 seconds from the time the car enters pit lane until the car exits pit lane. So if they've splashed some fuel in it and they've
which they did,
they have breached that rule, and they're going to be on the receiving end of the penalty. What a shame.
And I've got the penalties in front of me. So, you talk us through under this safety car, and I'll try and find out what penalty they should be expecting for that one.
So the Cherry Motor 5 safety car, I'll tell you what, Cherry Northern Beaches, they've had plenty of exposure tonight with the number of times that the Motor 5 has been out on the racetrack now. Interestingly enough, the safety car is going to come straight into the pits, so they haven't actually done what I thought they would do. They haven't waved the field through to get the race leader directly behind the safety car. So once again, we're going to get a restart without the race leader actually being behind the safety car. Just trying to work out who that's advantaged and who it's disadvantaged. I reckon this safety car has actually disadvantaged everyone from 4th place back.
Yeah, 100%. So the top 3, Gosling, Slattery and Burgess, the Civic, the Golf and the Evo are within 6 seconds of each other under this caution period. There is then a 2-minute gap to the Giunti number 13 machine, who is at the front of the field.
It's going to be massively frustrating for some of those drivers, particularly Todd Herring, that the safety car has not picked up the race leader, because they're going to be disadvantaged to the tune of almost a lap. They'll be thankful that, certainly for Todd Herring, he'll be thankful that he's got speed in that car, but his task of hunting down the race leaders has been made more difficult by the fact that they haven't restarted the race with the leader behind the safety car. The green flag waves, and once again it's the Osmond Colin Breezer car that's at the head of the queue, but definitely not the race leader. In fact, that car's all the way down in 25th position in terms of where it runs in the race at the moment.
I've just seen on timing the 81 car, that's the Benny Tran, the reigning winner of this race. The Dorian has stopped working, so we'll see if we can get Dave down there in the lane to find out exactly what's gone wrong for the defending race winner. But we are back under green, Lockie, and the number 33 machine leads them. It's done all of its compulsory pit stops. Same with the Gosling car, same with the Slattery car, and for a large majority now of this field. The question is, can the Class A and B cars catch up in the remaining 29 laps? Effectively, they have to catch an entire lap.
Well, if the Dorian stops working on car number 81, it could be that all of those laps that he's lost are not because of penalties, but because of laps not being counted as a result of his timing transponder not working. So the 81 car might not be so out of contention after all.
Just see the 22 taking the Honda Civic for second place, and Dave, you're down there with Jimmy Vernon. What happened there?
Thanks, guys. I am down here with Jimmy Vernon now. Of course, we had a little chat earlier. You talked me through the trials and tribulations, but you said the worst part of the event is that the driver, the car owner, only got a chance to do practice, didn't get to turn a lap tonight.
Yeah, it's Jackson's pride and joy. He's actually my mechanic at the V8 Super Ute series, and it was an idea to come here and race his car, and I had this plan. I wanted him to start the race from the beginning, and yeah, the way things panned out after qualifying, I ended up starting, and I just feel sorry for the poor bugger. He puts his heart and soul into this car, and he didn't even get to turn a racing lap. So motorsport's cruel, but we'll fight on.
We've walked up and down the lane. I'm going to be staggered to see what my step count is tonight. So many drivers and so many teams are experiencing a lot of suspension kind of wear and tear or load related issues. Is there anything different in the track or the way that you or the team have tackled this weekend that you might attribute to what's going on up and down the lane?
I think this track's notoriously tough on cars. We know that it's tough on tyres, so I think when you add the element of pushing these cars to the limit for 300 kilometres, I think that you got to expect a few things to break here and there. But it's grassroots racing. But these cars, they roll them out and they're amazing. And Jacko's car is brand new and it's so fast. We did a 38.0 and we were consistently doing 38s, and I didn't feel like it was slowing down at all till it broke. But that's motorsport.
Now, a question for the V8 Super Ute fans at home. How do you reckon a V8 Super Ute would get on in the Picture Partners Sydney 300?
We typically do short races because they like to slip and slide around. So, look, we get 4 races a weekend and they're sprint races, and we try to look after the tyres even though they're sprint rounds because, they're quite a soft compound tyre. So, maybe chuck a slick on it. I think it'll be a bit of fun, but, never say never.
Plus, you can also put a 44-gallon drum of fuel in the boot and you wouldn't have to do a pit stop.
Yeah, why don't we just put an esky with a couple beers in it for when we finish the race?
I think you and I need to have a chat about this. I've got an idea for a new endurance racing category. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Dave. And there's been a lead change while we were away. Here's a replay of it. So this is Ian Salteri going past the lead. Jerry Burgess, Mitsubishi Evo, to take the outright lead. So car number 222 back to the front, but with a huge question mark, given that we believe they refuels the car without spending the mandatory 2.5 minutes in pit lane.
Absolutely. Overtaken and already pulled out a margin of 4 seconds while we were chatting, or Dave was chatting down there to Jimmy Vernon. Real shame for him. Really was enjoying the weekend to this point, but just not quite gone their way this evening. And what a up and down roller coaster day it has been for so many of our competitors out there on the racetrack. We've got an incredible 15 cars in the lane at this point in time, getting repairs or out for the remainder of the race. So just 45 cars remain circulating out there on the racetrack. And this is one of them, and this is the leader, as we say, but there is a question mark. The question is, how quickly are the Todd Herring, the 555 Vincent Gagan A-Class car, are they going to catch up to the B and C class cars? Well, Todd Herring has just taken 5th, and as well I noticed there the double 2, the 22 machine, Miller, making an overtake. That is a lapped car. It is overtaking there on the racetrack, but just ahead of the Golf is a possible position change, and that's Kiara Zabakates, and she's the youngest competitor here this weekend. She raced in the Sydney 300 last year, but she's going solo this time, and she's a ripper young talent, that's for sure. And spoke to her yesterday. She says, I really want to get into to supercars. That's my goal. As we see the 43 on the 33, this is for second place, but importantly it really is for proper P1 position on the road. So that's a change. Gosling takes Burgess on the pit straight with 26 laps to go, and here comes the little Golf as well, the 75. That's multiple laps down, but it's certainly fast in the hands currently of where are we, the number 75. It's running strongly anyway. Not quite sure who's behind the wheel at this point, but running really well. Is Burgess going a bit slowly there, Lockie? Running really far around the outside. I'm not sure that Evo's working quite right.
Well, his last lap time around was about 10 seconds slower than that car's fastest lap of the race, so I think you might be onto something there. I don't think that car's running quite at its full potential at the moment, and you can see that Jerry Burgess is just driving a fraction off the racing line at this stage. One of the big questions for me at the moment, though, is what position does car number 81 actually occupy? We heard that there's been a Dorian problem with the Benny Tran car. How long ago did it happen? What lap is that car on at this stage? That's my question, because it could still be in contention if it's still somewhere near the lead lap.
Just seeing how unstable the 75 machine of Dikonski down in towards turn number 1 up the inside of 2 cars, and it bobbled about as it bumped on the inside of turn number 1. But that car certainly has a fair bit of speed behind it, but it is several laps off the race lead. But a point well made by you, Lockie. What lap is Benny Tran on out there in the number 81 machine? I thought it was a 5-lap penalty because of not doing something right in a pit stop or refueling, but it could be that Dorian problem that sees it that many laps down. So where exactly is that car? That will be repaired, I'm sure, or altered as we go. I'm sure they'll be chatting to the manual timing people to see exactly what lap that machine is on, as up the inside comes the Nissan Pulsar on the 152 Lexus. As we said earlier on, first ever car race for the driver in the 152 machine of Wayne Morvigatti. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yes, and the Burgess Evo is into our suspicions that car was not running at full pace. Potentially confirms here as he makes his way in, and in fact he hasn't even made it as far as the pit bay. He has stopped right at pit entry, Jerry Burgess.
I'm hearing there's a 10-second stop and hold penalty. So there we go. So 10 seconds has been served. We haven't seen that come up on timing or anything, so not sure what that's for. I'm going to have a look at my penalties book. As we can you see the car heading down the lane, Lockie. I'm not sure if you can see anything for that. No, I don't see anything for a 10-second stop and hold penalty. So, not sure. I'm sure we'll get onto the bottom of that. And I think this car, the Kevin Stoopman car, front right tyre on the number 12 machine, the Victorian Saloon car drivers, Kevin Stoopman and Karen Pridmore, is coming home with a puncture, so that'll be in the lane this lap. And speaking of in the lane, Dave, another update.
Thanks, guys. I just checked in with the Burgess team. They were advised that 10-second stop-go penalty was for a restart infringement. Unfortunately, the driver in the car was overlapping another car at the last safety car restart.
Thanks, Dave. That's great reporting from you down there. Quickly on the pulse, as always. Does a magnificent job, does Dave Stillwell down there in the lane. Myself, Dan McCarthy, and Lockie Mansell in the commentary box for this one in what has been a frantic Sydney 300, and Kiara's going slowly now on the outside in her Mitsubishi Evo. I was just saying, what a great job she was doing, but that was not sounding right, and let 3 cars up the inside, and I'm not sure has got back up to pace, so not sure on what is up with that Evo. It seems to be okay again now, but it certainly didn't look right on the exit of turn number 2 and 3. It's a case of where to look, Lockie.
It's always hard to know exactly where to look because there's action everywhere on the circuit in these races. But Todd Herring now up to 3rd position, and he's got the gap to the lead down to 60 seconds, less than that now, 59 seconds with 24 laps remaining, and he is lapping significantly quicker than the 2 cars ahead of him at the moment. So right now you would have to say that car number 77, if this race runs green through to the end, is probably the car that's in the box seat.
There's a big, it's going to be pretty close. 5 seconds a lap faster. So it'll take 12 laps to catch up. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tight towards the end of this motor race. As we see the Virag Commodore running a little bit wide. There he is. He's just taken position number 3. Todd Herring has been so good here over the past few years. Won the first 2 editions of the race, was a podium finisher, 3rd place in 2022 from last on the grid, started all the way at the back, made his way through up and into position number 3, and last year was right in contention for the race victory again when mechanical issues struck the Mazda MX-5. So every year this car is finished, it's finished very strongly. On the outside of the 144 Nissan Pulsar and down in towards turn number 2. So the margin down to 55 seconds now. So it is about 4 to 5 seconds a lap. So with 60 seconds being the margin, that is, big moment there for the 322 machine of Daniel, well, the Turneys, Daniel and Jeff. I'm not sure which Tierney it is at the wheel at the moment. But a hairy moment there for the 322 Toyota 86, who blasts down the back section of the course. This particular corner has been reprofiled since it was renamed as Sydney Motorsport Park. It originally had a bit of a right and a left. There's a bit of a chicane into there, but now just a simple 90-degree corner made to improve overtaking, and it has done, hasn't it, Lockie, around there?
It certainly has, because it's now easier to get a run on somebody coming up out of turn number 5 and then just diving to the inside, heading into turn number 6. There is Benny Tran in the number 81 car now, whatever the timing issue was, they are now manually timing that car, but it is showing it as being more than 5 laps down on the race leader. So I'm hypothesising a bit here, but I think you may well have been correct when you were talking about the 5-lap penalty for some infringement. And in addition to that, they're also now having to time the car manually because the Dorian has stopped working. So I think that's the assumption that we're going to have to make at the moment based on the information that's available to us through timing. Still a big question mark for me over that number 222 car and the fact that it looks like they refuels that car without spending 2.5 minutes in pit lane. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any action coming the way of that car as well.
Let's have a run through the order then. So at the top of the timesheets, top lead in the race at the moment, the Slattery Volkswagen Golf, the 222 machine, leads the race by 23.9 seconds, but there is a bit of an asterisk next to that car. Did it serve that third pit stop legally? Gosling is in second, our Class C leader in the Honda Civic. Third is Todd Herring, our first Class A runner, and quickly catching the top two on the road. In fourth, the number 13 machine of Guttini. Then we have the 555, the second Class A car that is also coming like a train. That's the BMW driven by Vincent and Max Gagan. We've then got the Holtzl BMW in Class C. Then another Class C, that's the Will Harris and Bill Harris Commodore, running very nicely in position number 7, ahead of Ricketts in position number 8, and we got O'Neill in position number 9, and rounding out the top 10, Miller in another Evo in Class B. Our Class C leader currently is the 143 machine of Inwood. That's the Subaru, I believe, the 143 machine. And then our Class E leader at this point in time is there's not one actually within the top 30 on the timing charts. It's the Agar car at the moment.
Yes, Simon and Nick Agar, who took pole position in Division E earlier on tonight. That division, of course, being sponsored by Encon Enterprise Connect.
So at this point, it's Class C from Class B from Class B from Class C, and then Class A. So Todd Herring, the green number 77 on your screens on the left, and the 555 are the ones to watch with 20 laps of this race remaining. This is the Division A order. Todd Herring leading by 25 seconds over Vincent. And then this car on the screen at the moment, 1 lap down, but running quite nicely. Jones in the Honda Civic there, coming over the brow of the hill. So, yeah, not inside the top 20. Oh, the 115 running 2 wheels through the grass there. Nice, gentle rejoin. If there was any more levering on the wheel, it would have found himself in the door of the 791 machine. Here comes Benny Tran. It looks like it's going to be a hard race from here if he wants to defend the title of Sydney 300 victories and go back-to-back. I just don't see it happening. With 20 laps to go, he's going to need a minor miracle if he wants to go back-to-back here tonight. But nevertheless, if you take away that 5-lap penalty, he would be right there with Todd Herring, right in the fight for the honours here once again today. Up the inside comes the Holden Astra, which was driven early on in the year by Cam McLeod at the Bathurst 6 Hour so very strongly, winning the class honours in the 6 Hour. What a pedlar that young man is, but he's not racing that car this weekend. It's been sold since then. Here are the Division E class leaders. So it's the number 18 machine that leads. That is the Agar combination, Nicholas and Simon at the wheel of that magnificent Hyundai Veloster. Then the number 10 in second, Timothy Molesworth, doing it solo in his Nissan Pulsar, sponsored by Sydney Crime and Trauma Cleaning. And then the number 41 machine in third, that's the Daniel Hay and Richard Barham Mazda MX-5, and it's Barham behind the wheel at this point in time. Can you believe it, Lockie? We have Mazda MX-5s in Division A, B, C, D and E. That's right. Mazda MX-5s in all 5 classes here this weekend.
Just shows what a diversity of Mazda MX-5 models have been produced over the years, and the fact that when you've got a combination of turbocharged and naturally aspirated MX-5s from all different generations, you can set them up to run at all different speeds.
Absolutely right. We've got a few just in that picture shot right there as the 791 overtakes the 123. Of course, the 123 machine started the opening lap of the race, turn number 1 even, backwards. Here's a recovery drive from there for the 123 machine of Stephen Head. It's now got Zach Radatz behind the wheel of that car. The MX-5 Mania sponsored machine, but it's certainly had a difficult start to the day. Did the 1-2-3 car, but it's recovered back to 36th place. That's not too bad, I suppose, considering how their day began. As we look at the 143 machine on the screen at the moment, that is the inward machine in Class D. They were originally slated to be in Class D, but they decided to move down a couple of classes, and clearly a good decision because they are leading that ahead of the T&E Toyota 86, which you saw have a little off-track excursion a couple of laps ago, and then the number 55 machine beyond that in position number 3 in class, and that is the Thulis Dial Toyota 86.
It's been a really good run from the boys from Bathurst in that Subaru WRX. They're currently sitting in 11th position outright, Grant and Harry Inwood, and could potentially move into the top 10 depending on how things play out over the remaining laps of this race, and also taking into account any post-race penalties. 18 laps to go, and Ian Salteri and Chem Ucell provisionally, they're the leaders of the race by 26.2 seconds, but Todd Herring is coming. He's now just 35.8 seconds off the lead of the motor race.
Last time through, Herring a 1:39.1. Second place, Gosling 1:45.9. So that shows the difference in pace there. 6.6 seconds on that lap alone. He's only 7.5 seconds behind. The fight for second is on. And here is the car in second place. Benny Tran is right behind that car right now. That's sort of inconsequential. It's just a little bit further behind. There is the Commodore behind, but just not too far out of that shot is the Mazda MX-5. Oh, Chiara, she's lost the front right, has gone down. Oh, she was running so strongly. In fact, I think both fronts are down, Lockie. There's sparks from the wheels on both front tyres. So at the same time as she lost both tyres, that's an incredibly rare thing to see.
I don't think it's tyres. I think it might be some other steering or suspension issue with the car. Oh dear, yeah, she's having lots of trouble with something broken in the front end of that car.
I think that we can see metal coming, or metal shards. I think it's down even beyond the canvas. It's really worn away. That's my read, and Shane Rogers in my ear is saying the same thing, that we think it's down. Tyre's almost gone. There, see the metal shards as it turns around the corner. Yeah, that's my read anyway. So this is going to be well out of contention now. What a shame for Chiara. She was doing absolutely magnificently in this motor race, but she is coming into the lane. The 21 Mitsubishi Evo. We said about tyres on Evos, didn't we? And this is now the second of the Evo contenders to hit that problem. In fact, she's come to a stop. What's happened here? She's surely going to come down the lane. Yes, she is. That's good news. I think she thought about for a minute bringing that in the lane completely, parking it in the garage behind, and you're looking like you'll want to point at something out to me.
So, yeah, the Michael Ricketts Josh Haynes car, which had been having a very strong run, it was sitting inside the top 3 in MJS Electrical Products and Suppliers Division B, and in the top 10 outright. It has now been in the pit lane for more than 6 minutes and has tumbled outside the top 30 as a result.
Good spot there, Lockie. Yeah, from 19th, this car is in And that's some significant tyre wear, isn't it? There it is. It is well past the canvas. That is an unbelievable amount of wear on the front of that number 21 machine. Have you ever seen a tyre look like that?
No, it's insane. She's actually done really well just to be able to get that back to the pits, as we see. That's the Michael Osborne, Tim Collin drags a BMW with a hairy moment at turn number 1. And yet again, the braking markers for turn 2 survive. It's been incredible that everybody that's gone off the road there throughout the day has somehow managed to avoid wiping out those brake markers.
That was the other tyre we were just seeing there. So both of them, yeah, really well beyond their use-by date on the front of the Chiara machine. The Evo out there on the racetrack. Benny Tran continues his march forward. While all that drama is being going off, while we saw the 6 car take the off-track excursion at turn 1, Herring has taken second place from the Civic. There is Civic at the back of the shot, and just at the forefront of the shot just a moment ago was the number 77 machine. So with 15 laps to go, despite sitting in second, the 77 is looking like the favourite at this point in time. But as we've seen, there is still plenty to happen in this motor race. There is 15 laps to go. Just under 4Ks in length is the Sydney Motorsport Park layout. That's my rough maths makes it about 60 kilometres in distance, still remaining a large portion of this motor race still to play out as they come down in towards turn number 6. There is the Viola car. This car had an off-track excursion a couple of laps ago, 2 wheels through the grass on the exit at turn number 3. Now having a tour of the grass at turn number 11. Well, he's going to save a bit of work for the MRA team at the end of this race meeting, the ARDC as well. They don't have to mow the lawns around most of the track thanks to the Pulsar, the 115 machine. Just listening in to the Viola car. We'll let you listen for a bit of a lap here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Oh, we've just broken away because we can see there's a few changes of position just ahead. Oh, that looked a bit late, but I think it was all right. The 115 taking turn number 1. This time, no off-track excursion at turn number 11, but maybe should also take up a career as a gardener. As you see them take turn number 2. So we now know that that race lead is coming down. It's down now to 17.6 seconds. And here is the number 7 car with Hanaran now at the wheel. We'll let you listen to this on board. Just broke up as we went behind Corporate Hill. That does happen with onboard sometimes, just because the hill is blocking the view and the signal there. And we've got it back. There we are. Shows how frantic it is, doesn't it, Lockie? You got to look behind and in front. Oh no, the 777 machine, who was running right inside of the top 10, or just on the fringes of the top 10, in third in the A class has come to a stop, and safety car has been called. I'm hearing that, Dave, you're down there in the lane.
Thanks, guys. I'm down here with Chiara Zavatakis, who's come in. She's gotten away very, very luckily from that incident. Not just one tyre, but 2 front tyres. Almost complete delamination for the right front. The inner carcass bulging through the steel-belted radials. The left-hand front tyre, not quite so bad, but missing about half of its tread across the face of the tyre. Now, they've actually run out of slicks for the car. They only had the 4 to get them through the event. So they're actually making the decision to switch not just the front 2 tyres, but all 4 tyres over from full slicks to semi-slicks like we'd normally see in improved production or production touring cars.
It's interesting that they've made that change. But she's jumped back in, she's getting the belts on, and she will be back out there. But this is a big story. Third position in Class A is out on the outside of turn number 8. This is a real shame for this car. It was a lap down, but running so strongly in class. And the number 777 has had such bad luck at this race the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, he's got further into the race this year than he has the previous couple of years, but still ended up parked, stopped stationary. And this is going to cause our 7th intervention of the night for the Chariot Motor 5 safety car, equaling the safety car record for the Sydney 300. It's going to set up a flat-out sprint to the checkered flag, and it was contact from the number 79 Mazda MX-5, which carted that car into a spin.
That's Jet Herring, youngest of the Herrings in the motor race, making quite significant contact down there. But I'm surprised the 777 hasn't just been able to refire the car and take off again. So that's a real shame. But this changes the race with 13 laps to go. Herring had pretty much caught Salteri. Gap was down to about 5 seconds when the safety car was called. And this is really going to affect the 222 B-class machine. But more than that, for Gosling, who is running a nice, comfortable 3rd place, will now have the 13 Class B car of Giottini right behind him. Will Harris, another C-class car, and Vincent as well. There are still 9 cars on the lead lap in this race. Waving to the camera is our race leader. He's clearly been told that he is on the camera. Thumbs up, and rightfully so. You're leading the motor race with a few laps to go, but I think inevitably Herring may be overtaking in the not too distant future. Clearly things going well for the 222 machine. As we see them come around the final couple of corners. Oh, Lockie, the number 555, second in Class A, has come into the lane. A very unscheduled pit stop with just 13 minutes to go. This is going to murder the number 555. So with 13 laps to go, the Class A field has just changed in the flick of a light switch.
It has depleted, hasn't it? Unbelievable. So really is going to leave only one Division A car inside the top 10, and that's going to be Todd Herring, our pole sitter. Incredible story. Started with 6, wasn't it, I believe, in Class A, or potentially even 7. But they've fallen by the wayside. The next best is Jones in Class A, who's stopped on the side of the road. Beyond that, Benny Tran, 5 laps down in 32nd position. It's not been the race if you want to be in Class A. Todd Herring will be hoping that he can bring the car home. But it's been the curse of Class A this weekend. How about the Giantini boys? That's been one of the best performances of the race for mine, because they qualified a fair way down the order, and they've worked their way up to be right in contention for a podium finish. In fact, given that they're in Division B and the Adam Gosling, Brent Howard entry is in Division C, you'd have to say that Giantini should be fairly comfortably able to dispose of them at the safety car restart. They come from 21st on the grid, the Giantini boys, and they are right in contention for a podium.
Gosling as well, the C-Class Honda Civic. Where did that one start, Lockie?
26th.
There you go. So two real strong performers there, and well outside of the top 20 to be sitting third and fourth position in this race with just a few laps to go. The other standout for me is the Will Harris and Bill Harris combination. That Holden Commodore is certainly not going to be the most easy car to race over 300-kilometre distance. Oh, this is a 79 car, so this is the car that hit the 777 down there at turn number 8. And they're trying to, I think they might just take the front splitter off, Lockie. I reckon at this late stage of the race, just get that car back out there and back in contention. With just a few laps to go, it's probably not going to affect you too badly. But this is not where the 79 car wanted to be at this stage of the race. It was inside the top 20, not anymore. Falling down, losing places the longer this car stays in the lane. We'll have a bit of a run through of the classes then. So Slattery leads in Class B and leads the race as well. That is Class B, presented by MJS Electrical Products and Supplies. He leads from Giattini, who you say is one of the performers of the race, and then the Miller Evo as well. Class A being led by Todd Herring, really the only one anywhere near the pointy end of the field. Vincent is currently second, and the car being towed back to the lane is in third position. Then in Class C is Gosling, Will Harris, and the Holtzel machine. But the safety car thing is about to come in. Here he is, our Class B leader out there at the moment, supported by MJS Electricals. But I think a pass for the lead could be coming in a matter of moments. The 222 is just 6 seconds ahead of Todd Herring as we are about to go back green with 11 laps remaining in the book. What can the 222 do? Fourth place in the Bathurst 6 Hour outright last year. Can it withstand the pressure from the 777 Mazda MX-5, the two-time race winner, Todd Herring? It's going to be a tough ask. But if there's one man that can do it, it's the man currently leading the motor race as we restart with 11 to go. 4 seconds the margin when they cross the line. Of course, that margin reduces as we go back to green. And there he is, second place, the two-time winner. Hasn't won since 2021. Won the first two editions of this race in 2019 and 2021. Dave, you down there in the lane?
I am, guys. So we saw the 79 of Jet Herring make an unscheduled pit stop, and we heard the unfortunate sound of a front splitter dragging on the ground. I thought this would be a good opportunity to have a look. It's not just the front lip here, it's this whole under tray that goes all the way back under the radiator and then under the front half of the engine. You can see that it was dragging on the ground, it was getting stuck. This is going to have now, they get the car back in the race, they've taped up the splitter rods which attach here and to the edges of the splitter. But the car's going to lose a huge amount of front downforce, and with the rear wing still on the boot lid, the thing's going to understeer like crazy. So Jet's really going to have to pace himself, because the way the car's been handling up to this point in the race, it's not going to handle that way anymore. We've seen a lot of tyre issues so far. If he's not careful, he could have a tyre issue just purely from lacking that downforce throughout the course of the rest of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be an issue. Here we go, down there, up the inside on the number 101 machine. Oh, Todd Herring, who's looking so good at the moment, nearly had his race ended right there. And then, but here we are on the pit straight, a change for the lead, but look at the power of the Golf down the straight line towards turn number 1. He takes the place back. Passes the A-Class car down in towards turn number 1, but runs a little bit wide, and through comes Todd Herring. So for the first time in this race, the 777 car leads the motor race. Todd Herring takes it up at the front of the field. He leads now from the B-Class car of Slattery, and around is the number 53 machine. Not sure where that is, whether that's turn 4 or turn 8. It's somewhere in that middle section of the course. I believe it's on the outside of 8. That's what I'm hearing in my ear. There's some significant steering damage there. The front right and the front left are facing in completely different directions, and it's going to be hard to bring that car back into the lane. But there has been a change for the lead. There's the 555 back out there on the racetrack, but that is not running well at all. The Vincent Gagan car that's been running so well all day is coming home very slowly. Have a look for what has happened here. Oh, I really can't work out. Oh, the Astra's been involved in that. There's been a heavy hit. The Astra has ploughed into the side, I think, of the MX-5. The MX-5 has come to a stop. Look at all the debris. That could cause a puncture on one of these cars, that's for sure. So there's a lot of debris down there. There's a car stuck on the outside of the road, Lockie. There's a bit of a demolition derby down there at turn number 8.
And I'll tell you what, Matthew Giantini is now all over the back of Ian Salteri in the contest for second position. So Salteri was a little bit slow there. He got balked, I think, by the Commodore. Giantini now ranging up onto the back. So Giantini challenging Salteri for P2 outright in the motor race. That VW Golf, check out the straight line speed.
It's unbelievable.
It has been wicked fast in a straight line, that VW Golf R. The fact that he's been able to pass it, the Commodore. We're going safety car again, our 8th safety car intervention of the race as the Chariot Motor 5 returns to the circuit with 9 laps remaining. And look at the damage to the number 46 Oscar Butt Troy Derwood Astra, obviously caused as a result of that contact at turn 8. And oh no! Will and Bill Harris, that car has run flawlessly all night long. They'd worked their way up into the top 5, and now they've got late dramas as well.
In class podium position after inheriting the win in the class last year. It's not going to be the same again this year. It's on the other foot this time. It's them that have struck problems. This is the number 53 trying to limp it back to the lane. It's all happened in the closing laps of this race. Well, it's all happened throughout this race. There has not been a dull moment in the 2024 edition of the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300, but there are class podium sitters falling by the wayside, left, right and centre. But look at the damage to the 46 machine. He has ploughed into the side of that MX-5 at turn number 8 at quite significant pace. This car will not be repaired in 9 laps. I am very sure of that. The radiator's been destroyed. There is significant damage. The bonnet's been pushed up, and oh no, it's not even going to make it back into the lane. The 74 car pulling over on the run towards turn number 9. Will Harris and Bill Harris, the father and son duo, were looking odds on for a podium. But in endurance racing, and particularly the Sydney 300, it's never over until it's over. And the safety car has not got the race leader again.
It's been a bit of a recurring theme tonight. We've now eclipsed the record for safety car appearances, this being the 8th safety car of the race. The race record has been and gone. We have now passed the 2 hour and 25 minute mark of this race. But still some battles to be resolved, and still 7 cars on the lead lap. So if we can finish the race with that number of cars on the lead lap, that'll be a new record as well.
Yeah, certainly will beat. The record currently sits at 6. Can we go one better in 2024? So just hearing the leaders at turn number 4. So we've definitely not picked up the race leader, and that will mean I think it's going to be unlikely that we will have that record unless the safety car lets the whole field catch back up. This is where the race leader is on the road, so it's catching up to the tail end of the train. So number 77 ahead of the 73, but 73 not in contention for the race victory. And this is the 222, second place in this race outright last year. 4th place in the Bathurst 6 hour
So just
earlier
my
on this
imagination,
year.
does that car sound not quite right when it's off throttle? Just have a listen. There seems to be a bit of a clunking or a vibration, and it seemed to be at its worst when he was off the throttle. Just listen to that.
There is a bit of a rattle, isn't there?
What's that all about?
So not sure if there is a problem. We just break away from that. There's a bit of confusion here. I think the VRAG Commodore has just turned, the lights have gone off. It's all gone out on pit straight. So the VRAG, oh, a bit of a reset. I think the cars can overtake because there is, what's the rules, Lockie? As far as I'm aware, if there is an ailing car, you are allowed to overtake it under safety car, but nobody's willing to do that. But the VRAG Commodore is almost rolling to a halt here and pulls to the inside of the track. It's another car that we're losing late on in this motor race. Oh, it's really turned into a race of attrition, hasn't it, out there on the racetrack? So now it's the number 42 Commodore that is coming to a stop. Oh, I haven't been able to catch my breath. We've been racing now for 2.5 hours. We've still got 7 laps to go, which is a 10th of, or an 11th of the motor race still remaining. But crikey. Oh, this is the number 7 on the back straight, the number 7 machine.
You are kidding me.
Viola for the second year in a row.
In a row, a late retirement or a late mechanical problem. Last year it wasn't actually a retirement because he limped the line and his night's done. Our naming rights sponsor out of the car, out of the race, game over. Unbelievable.
Wow.
We're actually going to get the question that you now have to ask. We've got 7 laps remaining. It'll be 6 when we get to the start-finish line. There's 2 more cars that now are going to have to be recovered. Are we actually going to get a green flag finish to this motor race?
He's in the passenger door. Look, I think he's trying to fix this on the road. I'm trying to work out. I'm sure he's in the passenger seat, trying to do something. He's well off the racetrack. He's in the passenger door, trying to fiddle around in there, trying to fix something. He's on the escape road on the exit of turn 8 and down by turn 4. He's well out of harm's way, but it's a strange thing to be doing at this point of the race. I'm trying to work out what's going on there, Lockie. Number 42 has come to a halt as well. As we saw, the car did not have any go on the pit straight and pulled over to the side of the circuit. So this one out of contention as well. This is another car that wasn't running too badly, comfortably inside the top 20, but no more. Crossed this one out of contention with 7 laps to go. So our Class A leader and outright race leader at the moment is Todd Herring, 2-time race winner in this category, and he's looking to take out the Lendrive Finance Division A honours. He leads Slattery and Giantini in Class B. The Class B brought to us by MJS Electrical Products and Supplies. So they are leading the way in Class B. Third in Class B is the number 22 Miller Evo. Then Class D, that is the Live and Learn group supported division. And that's being led by the 43 Honda Civic of Gosling ahead of the number 80 BMW, and then the number 44 machine that really has been the quiet achiever in this one. The number 44 Porsche 944 S2. Have we even mentioned that car, Lockie, in this race?
No.
And here it is, sitting in Class C podium position. Lee Burgess had to serve that penalty a few laps ago. He sits in 9th. He is in position 4th in the C class. Beyond that, in 10th position, and our Division D leader, brought to us by Crisis Transport and Logistics. That's the 143 machine, and that is currently being led by Inwood in the immaculately presented Subaru WRX STI, and they've been leading that one for a majority of the race, haven't they, Lockie? They are ahead of the Teeny 86, both the Teenies behind the wheel there, and then not too far behind them is the 3rd class car in D, and that's the the number 55 dial machine. So it's all been happening in this motor race. Class E, as we look a little bit further down the timing podium, that totem that is being led by the Agar machine. And again, that one has also been at the front of the field for a majority of this race.
It has qualified on pole position within its division as well. 6 laps remaining, will be 5 when we get to the start finish line this time around, and the safety car is now in front of our race leader, Todd Herring, and we've got 7 cars on the lead lap at this stage. Talking about some quiet achievements, we talked about the Chris Stannard Porsche 944, which has just stayed out of trouble, crept its way up the order all night long. John O'Neill currently at the wheel of that car, and it sits in 7th outright. Alex and Dieter Holzel, they have come from 32nd on the grid up to position number 5 outright. And the veteran Jamie Miller, the former Supercars privateer, who has raced Songo in the Mitsubishi Evo, 6th outright, 3rd in MJS Electrical Products and Supplies Division B.
Jimmy Tran, notably in the 818 machine, is a lap down and has been for some time, but he's just been chipping away as others have fallen by the wayside ahead of him. Now sits in 8th position, and you might have seen good news for everybody. Safety car is in at the end of this lap. We're going to see a 5-lap sprint to the finish in this Pitcher Partners Sydney 300. Notably as well, the pit stop window has closed, but I'm quite certain that everybody has completed all of their compulsory pit stops. They certainly had enough safety car periods to do it in, that is for certain. It's been a real race of attrition. Hopefully we can get 5 green flag racing laps to the finish of the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300 here in 2024. Todd Herring leads the field. The car second in the queue is a couple of laps down. We're on board with the car that is second in this motor race. Just a couple of car lengths ahead of the number 13 machine that is driven by Gittini. So watch for that. That is the B-class fight, and also second outright as well. Great start from Saltieri, takes it up to the inside and takes that place, but as we say, that is just putting the 73 car down a lap, but the 73 car's responding up the inside at turn number 2. This is not what Slattery wants. He wants to be trying to pull away from the number 13 machine, the Honda Civic that is not too far behind. There it is, that black machine, just a couple of cars behind now. He's got a lot of work to do. You're right, it certainly doesn't sound right off throttle, the Golf, as it roars down the hill. It's a real thumping, juddery sound off throttle, but hopefully that Golf can make it home to the finish. Potentially a second place finish for this car. Took a defensive line there and a defensive line out the corner as well. This car is under attack. Is it under attack from the 73 machine? No, that car's down the road. It must be the number 13 behind it as they head down towards turn number 6. Such a tight technical corner, this one, with grass to catch you out on the exit. Chris Sutton's running well. Here we are. This is for second in the motor race. The 13 machine swings it around the outside and takes second place from the 222 Golf. There's a lot of debris still down there at turn number 8, but it is no doubt that the 13 machine has demoted the 222 down a place, although Slattery tried to get back up the inside at turn 9. That shows the straight line speed of this car. If he can keep it within a couple of car lengths coming onto the straight, it might be in contention, but this car, I think, is limping home. It does not sound right at all.
It still seems to have plenty of grunt in a straight line, but you saw there that he actually got checked up by Jimmy Tran. Can he get down the inside of Giantini into turn 1? No, he'll have to get out of the throttle. The difference there will be that the Golf is on treaded tyres, the Honda Civic with Matthew Giantini at the wheel is on slicks, so Giantini can just carry that much more mid-corner speed through turn number 1 and through the high-speed, constant radius corners around the back part of the circuit. So the Giantini car, which started outside the top 20 on the grid, now into the lead in MJS Electrical Products and Supplies Division B, up to second outright.
Yeah, how is that with just 4 laps remaining in this race? A change for second position outright and a change in Class B. The 222 machine really has done nothing wrong all day, but it has been demoted there in this one. Looking a little bit further back, there is the 43 Honda Civic. That is the leader in Class C. Class C, of course, brought to us by Live and Learn Group, but he is coming under pressure now from the number 80 machine. But look at this, Gosling is actually catching up to the Golf as well. So the Golf, I don't think, is running quite right. So the Gosling C-Class car, the Honda Civic, is catching the Golf for outright third position in this motor race. There is so much still to play out, but there's the BMW now behind the Honda Civic. This is the fight for the Class C victory and fourth outright, and there it is. The BMW is right there now as they come around the final corner. There'll be 3 laps to go at the end of this one. This race has well and truly come alive here with this late race safety car period. Great run from the BMW up the inside. We've had a change in Class B. We've now got a change in Class C. Holtzall goes through, takes Gosling with just 3 laps remaining in this race. How good is this, Lockie?
What a finish it's been. The outright race leader is Todd Herring by 8.5 seconds. He has the Class A win and the outright win. All he needs to do is keep his nose clean for this final 3 laps. But the battle for the final spot on the outright podium and for a couple of the divisions B and C still well and truly up for grabs in the closing stages of this race. I saw as well, yeah, Benny Tran, look at that. 1 minute 34.80 if you don't mind for the BYP Honda Integra. He knows he's out of contention. He doesn't care about breakouts anymore, and he has unleashed.
This is for third outright, Lockie. They're not in the same class, but this is for outright third position. The 222 Golf is not running like it was early on in the race. Last time through was nowhere near what he did early on, and here comes the 80 of Holtz trying to get through. Can't quite do it there. The Holtzall machine, the BMW. Yeah, around the outside at turn number 8. Surely Slattery's going to come back up the inside and does so. Oh, that was deep on the brakes. The brakes really glowing there. They're both wide. And through comes the Honda Civic up the inside. Back into third position. Oh, the BMW's out through the grass, 4 wheels. Black comes Slattery with that great straight line speed. He retakes third position now. The Honda Civic looks up the inside at the final couple of corners, but around the outside comes the Holtzall BMW. They've exchanged places about 5 times in the last couple of corners. Great exit from the BMW, but this is where the Golf comes into its own. I didn't think Salteri would be able to retake that place after losing it, but he did so. It was a big dive up the inside, down in towards turn number 8, but he did so. He reclaimed it. They both ran wide, and the Honda Civic, the number 43, came up the inside. There it is to retake that one, and the BMW doing a bit of grass track action as well. There's 2 laps left in this book. I'm beginning to lose my voice. It's been a frantic race, and it's coming down with an absolute cliffhanger here. This is absolutely the way we wanted to see this race finish. Here we go. The 3 cars again dueling down the hill in towards turn number 4. The brakes are gone. The brakes are gone on that Golf. It's limping home. Is it the brakes or no? I think the tyre's gone, Lockie. I think the front left tyre's gone. It's down. It's delaminated. It's flat. The 222 is limping home. It's a wounded car. He's going to struggle to finish in the top 5 here in this race. That is not what you want to see. The Golf has lost third, and it's about to lose fourth. Gosling has got a great exit out of turn number 6 towards Corporate Hill. But that Golf is limping. Look at the sparks under the left front. That is an expired tyre and falls down to 5th position. He'll be looking in his mirrors. The next car is that yellow and orange Mitsubishi Evo. There was 3 Evos in that shot. It was the middle one. And he might demote the number 222 down a further position. He's actually gaining, though, back on the Honda Civic and could take it back in the straight line here. I think that's what you heard, Lockie. All those laps ago, it was the tyre.
He's done extremely well to hold on. It's been the straight line speed of the Golf that has saved Ian Salteri. But you can see there he's having to to juggle the steering wheel. He's still going to come back and get down the inside of the Brent Howden as Adam Gosling, Honda Civic into turn number 1, but can he get it? Stops for turn number 1. We are on the final lap of the motor race. Todd Herring is the leader by 7.4 seconds over Matthew Giantini and Alex and Dieter Holtzel, who started this race 32nd on the grid, on for an outright podium and Division C victory. But what a performance from Todd Herring. It's been far from straightforward. He got buried in the pack with that early pit stop, but how can you take your eyes off this battle a bit further back in the pack? There's a white flag waving to indicate a slow-moving car, and still Ian Salteri holding on resolutely. Chris Sutton, he's not on the same lap. He's a lap behind these cars, so not in contention in terms of battling for track position, but rounds up both those cars anyway. Here he is, though, Todd Herring. What a performance it has been from the driver of car number 77. And last time he qualified on pole position, he won this race. He dominated it. Tonight, started from pole again. An early pit stop buried him in the field. He didn't have track position. He had to fight his way back up through the order. But he is going to become the first triple winner of the Sydney 300 tonight. Todd Herring, your picture partner's Sydney 300 winner for 2024.
What a performance. The fight further back, though, is still on. There is the Golf. It's back behind the Honda Civic again. And, in fact, it's fallen behind the Evo of Miller as well. So the Slattery Golf has fallen back from 4th to 6th on this final lap. What a shame. Looked like second outright was going to be possible. 10 laps ago, we were talking about a potential win, but it's going to come home a wounded and disappointing 6th position in the race. What a performance, though, from the 43 Civic. Gosling comes home in 4th, ahead of the Evo 22, Miller, and then Slattery. Beyond that, O'Neill in the number 44 machine. And just as we think the race is finished, there's more drama out there on the racetrack, Lockie. The number 76 has come to a halt on the run towards turn number 9, and the 75 is running slowly as well.
So the Mazda 3 there of Brendan Scholar and Greg Boyle, winners at the Wakefield 300 a couple of years ago in a Mazda RX-7, jumped into a Mazda 3 this weekend to have a bit of fun, but that car expiring on the very last lap. Here, incidentally, is Benny Tran, the number 81 Honda Integra. All those timing problems seem to have been resolved, and he is going to be credited with position number 8.
How bizarre. How bizarre that the story of that race was for the Benny Tran machine. As you say, at one point was recording 5 laps down, but those 5 laps have been returned, and he's now classified in position number 8 out of absolutely nowhere, beating his brother Jimmy Tran home in position number 9. So a very strange end to the race there for the defending champion, the 81 machine, who in the end, unfortunately, just strategy ruled that machine out of contention late in the race. Set the fastest lap of the race. It was an illegal lap, a 1:34.8, very much breaking out, but had 3 warnings, only used the 1, so will remain in Class A, won't be disqualified from the meeting. This car has got back going again and will cross the line. That is the number 76 little Mazda crossing the line. Not sure what has happened there to the Brendan Scotter and Greg Boyle machine, but it has come home, which is good news for all involved. Well, Lockie, let's take a bit of a breath there. That was an incredible edition of the Picture Partners Sydney 300. Take a breath.
Take a breath and appreciate what an incredible finish to the race it was. Todd Herring, a supreme performance to take the win once again. But how about some of those other driver and car combinations that came through from deep in the pack to end up with outstanding results? Matthew and Aaron Giantini, a standout performance to win Division B and end up in 2nd place outright. And Alex and Dieter Holtzel overcoming the disappointment of retiring last year to win Division C and come 3rd outright after starting 32nd on the grid. Outstanding stuff.
Incredible, and that was a car that had so many mechanical issues last year, so really great to see that that car has come home strong. We just saw there Todd Herring, now a three-time Sydney 300 winner, 3 times in 5 years. That is an exemplary record in any endurance motor race. And Lockie, I know you like this stat about race times. That was officially the slowest Sydney 300 in history. No surprise considering the amount of safety cars that we had here this weekend. But that was certainly one of the most dramatic, that is for certain. A race that had action from turn 1 until the very final turn of the motor race. That is going to remain a classic Sydney 300 for many years to come. But Todd Herring, doesn't he look relieved and overjoyed with that race? He certainly had to work hard for that one. Was nearly a lap down in the final 45 minutes, but made his way forwards. Took the win just after the penultimate safety car period ended, and with 5 laps to go, managed to hold off the pack and take the race victory. He looks absolutely elated with that, and so he should. What a brilliant performance, doing all 300 kilometres by himself, all 77 laps, and certainly looks a bit worn out, and so he should be. What a race, though, from Todd Herring, a 3-time winner in the Sydney 300. All 3 of those coming in Mazda MX-5s. He did it with Harris in year 1. Andy Harris did it solo in year 2 in 2021, and he's done it solo again in 2023. Dave, I believe you're down there with Todd Herring.
I am, guys. I'm down here with a jubilant Todd Herring. Now, for those of you who've been following our coverage of the Sydney 300 supported by Pitcher Partners know that I made quite a few trips down to the Herring Performance Garage, but it's nice to see you in victory lane, a 3-time winner of the Sydney 300. Can you tell us just how you did 77 laps on your own tonight?
I really can't tell you, mate. I feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck. I really have. Those safety cars were just, they worked in my favour something fierce. I made a colossal stuff up with my rear tyres. I said, just do loaded side, and forgot that the 2 tyres on the rear are totally different sizes. So I had to go back to Speedway, and I had to tip it into the corner and try to get the weight off the inside one, because I could hear the diff just squealing. So yeah, I had to go back to Speedway days to get it here, so it was fun.
Well, you certainly put on a great show for all the fans of the Mazda MX-5 tonight. Congratulations to you and everyone in the team. I'm guessing you've got a few family members that you'll have to spray with champagne very gently and tenderly tonight.
I will do, mate. Yeah, I couldn't have done it without them. They help me, my team, my crew, my family. They support me bad habit, but I can't believe it. I've done it again.
Well, well done to you and the entire team. We're going to visit the next of our divisions, but well done on taking out Division A and outright in the Pitcher Partners Sydney 300.
Thank you, mate. Legend. Ta.
Doesn't he sound absolutely exhausted? Friends and family giving him a huge congratulations, and rightfully so. But that one clearly meant a lot to Todd. Had to fight so hard for that one. It wasn't an easy victory. It looked early on like it was playing into the hands of the Division B and C competitors, but sheer's pace could not be beaten and takes the outright honours. Dave's down there with another of our class winners.
So I've got the Brothers Giattini of the number 13. Oh, lucky 13. And now I've got Aaron with me. You started off in the car. How was that?
Oh, yeah, really good. It was pretty full on with cars everywhere, 60 car field grid or something like that. So, yeah, there was cars everywhere, but a lot of fun. Pushed really hard, and luckily, I don't know how we got here, but we got here.
It doesn't look like there's a scratch on it. Now, how was the end of the race there, Matthew?
Mate, you have to give me half an hour to let that sink in. Holy crap. At one point, the last safety car thought I had a bit of a drive shaft issue because it started to click a little bit. I'm thinking, oh no, is this going to be the end? But no, it held on. And then the fuel pump, we weren't sure if it was feeding enough. And then it was just everything was happening in the last minute. Thinking maybe we had to stop another one, and I just sent it, and it held on, and here we are somehow. But oh man, that was a race. Tell you what.
Definitely is. You you always find weird and new, interesting noises to discover at the end of the race, particularly if you're in a class-leading position. Well done to you both. We're going to move on to our next division. Great job. Is your co-driver around?
So a brilliant performance from those guys. It's quite remarkable that they finished second outright in the end there. And down there once again, Dave, down to you.
Thanks, guys. So we've got our Live and Learn Group Division C winners here. The family Holsall aboard their BMW 135. Actually, no, my apologies, a BMW 1M. So how did the weekend work out for you? What can we attribute this performance to today?
Oh, it was a challenge, actually. The start of yesterday and today, we battled a fair bit of stuff. A couple of oil leaks and just, we've had the car pretty thoroughly in bits for the last 2 weeks. So, we thought we were going to be really challenged tonight, and we were until, the end. We're very pumped, mate. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I saw half the front end of the car apart in the lead up to the race after qualifying. Certainly the cooler conditions meant we didn't have to rely so much on those last-minute oil cooler modifications. Now, I see we've got the newest pit crew member of Team Holsall here. How was the end of your race? You want to have a chat?
Mate, that was the full ham sandwich. That was with the lot. I sent it. That was good. It wasn't anything left on the table.
Well, it looks like we've got an aspiring journalist joining us in the pit lane. We're going to move on to Division D. Well done to the family Holsall aboard their BMW.
Quite remarkable, the battle late on in the end there between so many competitors, the Civic, the BMW, the Golf, and it really went down to the wire. But in the end, it was Todd Herring that took the win by 11.1 seconds in the end. But